Chapter 369. Before the beast leader died, its body was shrouded in smoke, which then exploded. Pieces of flesh pierced through the ground, shooting out dozens of miles away. Soon, those pieces of flesh continued to spit out a thick white fog. As the fog was spat out, the size of the pieces of flesh became smaller and smaller, until they disappeared completely. This fog is not simple. It can even slowly seep into the rocks. Yi Chen pushed his soul power, and immediately realized the strangeness of the fog. Rumble! Just as Yi Chen finished his sentence, all of the beasts underground moved out together, rushing towards Yi Chen crazily. That kind of sound was like the earth was shaking. Grand Elder Chen and Lu Mei were shocked. How could it be? Although the battle between Yi Chen and the beast leader was quite loud, it would only attract the nearby beasts. How could it be possible for all of them to move out together, as if they knew where they were? Could it be because of this fog? Lu Mei was shocked. No time to waste. Let's leave this place first. The green lotus Zhen Yuan cut through the mud and rocks, and Yi Chen led the two to break through towards the south. There were relatively fewer beasts in the south, but there were still more than 50 of them. These beasts were in groups of 5, keeping a few hundred meters distance from each other. Kill! After reaching the late astral reaching realm, Yi Chen's battling power had increased drastically. Every casual sword attack of his had an unstoppable power. Besides the beast leader, basically no one else could take one attack from him. Lu Mei was helping him on the side, performing her wind whip art. The whip's shadow was like a snake, binding up the beasts one after another, making it impossible for them to gather together. Although Grand Elder Chen was not as powerful as Yi Chen in terms of attacking power, it was still quite effective for him to take care of some of the beasts that managed to escape. Just like that, the three of them had a clear division of labor, fighting their way out. Should we go up there? After escaping from the beast's encirclement, Grand Elder Chen sent a Zhen Yuan message to Yi Chen. Yi Chen shook his head. No need to rush. Right now, it seems like no one will notice us, but the situation up there might not be that good. Let's kill a certain amount of beasts first before going up. Hunt foggy beasts? Lu Mei was surprised. Underground, the range of the mental power is limited. It will be hard for the dense fog beasts to surround us, and we can change our location after every shot. Hearing this, Lu Mei and Grand Elder Chen were suddenly enlightened. They looked at each other and smiled bitterly. They were still thinking about how to escape, but Yi Chen had already figured out the fundamental solution. It seemed that different levels of power determined different ways of looking at problems. In order to hunt fog beasts, one must have a certain amount of capital. Yi Chen's capital was his soul power. The range of his soul power was around 10 times that of the fog beast. This was his weapon that allowed him to take the initiative. Huh? There are actually 3 groups of beasts gathered together in this area. A smile flashed on Yi Chen's face. He waved his greenwood sword in the air, and a huge green lotus bloomed. Chi 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 chi. The next moment, dense green sword chi burst out from Yi Chen's body, like a hedgehog spitting out its spikes, giving the enemy in front of it a fatal attack. Without any ability to fight back, the 3 groups of dense fog beasts were drowned in the torrent of sword chi, riddled with holes. Let's go! After killing the enemy with one attack, Yi Chen changed his location immediately. Using the same method, within 3 days, Yi Chen had killed more than 400 beasts, including 3 of their leaders. Now we can go up. Putting his greenwood sword back into its scabbard, Yi Chen lightly stepped on the ground and his body shot up. Crack! The ground cracked open and the 3 appeared in midair. Grand Elder Yi, how about we go check out the stone forest? We do not know how to get out yet anyway. Grand Elder Chen suggested. Yi Chen nodded. There might be a huge amount of beasts in the stone forest, but compared to before, Yi Chen's battling power had improved a lot. He could be considered as invincible among the astral reaching realm. He could fight 1-on-1 or even 10 at the same time, and he would not be afraid. Even if it did not work out, he would be able to escape from the underground. Therefore, it would not be a big deal for him to explore the stone forest. Shoo! 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 The three performed their flying art, flying towards the stone forest. As for how big the stone forest was, Yi Chen did not know. Every rock inside was like a mountain, shining with a gray light. The three entered the stone forest area quietly. Do not release your mental power, Yi Chen said with a Zhen Yuan transmission. Lu Mei nodded, indeed. Scanning with mental power will attract the attention of the beast. The three of them did not discover any traces of the dense fog beasts, and they could not help but relax. They were not afraid of one or two beasts, but they were afraid of hundreds of beasts. Not to mention astral-reaching realm paragons, even 3 or 4 astral-reaching realm paragons would not be able to handle hundreds of attacks. They would be turned into ashes within a second. After about 1 hour, the three arrived at the deep end of the stone forest. It is a spirit plant. Grand Elder Chen's eyes focused. In a corner that was not easy to notice, he found a spirit plant with waxy white leaves and blue flowers. This spirit plant was about the size of a palm. The tiny tubes on its stem were clearly visible, just like the meridians of a human body. Tendon refining flower. There is a tendon refining flower here. In the auction, one of them could be sold for at least 5,000 mid-rank soul stones. If it could be made into a tendon refining pellet with other precious materials, even 30,000 mid-rank soul stones would not be too much. It would be priceless. Lu Mei screamed out loud. Yi Chen was shocked. He did not know much about the tendon refining flower, but he had heard about the tendon refining pellet. The meridians of the human body were very important, but also relatively fragile. If the meridians were blocked, the battling power would not be able to be used to its peak. If the meridians were broken, it would be a catastrophic injury for a warrior, which would be hard to heal. However, a tendon refining pellet could not only heal the broken meridians in a short period of time, but it could also strengthen the meridians, increasing their toughness to a horrifying level. Haha, I will not hold back then. Grand Elder Chen was the first one to find the tendon refining flower. He waved his hand, and the flower flew out of the ground, landing on his hand. Yi Chen said lightly, "There will be a lot of treasures and spirit plants. We need to make a rule. The rule is that whoever finds the treasure first will get to keep it. What do you guys think?" I have no problem with that. Lu Mei agreed. Grand Elder Chen obviously had no problem with that. Judging on power, Yi Chen was the strongest. This rule was obviously beneficial to him and Lu Mei. Otherwise, if Yi Chen decided to rob them, they would have to run away. Remembering the appearance of the tendon refining flower, Yi Chen quietly released his soul power, spreading it out in all directions. Soul power was higher than soul power, so it was hard to detect. Underground, Yi Chen had used his soul power to take the initiative and kill a large number of beasts. Not long after, Yi Chen found 2 tendon refining flowers, so he flew towards them. Wow, Grand Elder Yi is so lucky. Grand Elder Chen only thought that Yi Chen had good eyesight, but he did not expect him to find them with his soul power. Regarding this, Yi Chen did not say anything. Tendon refining flower, 3 4-leaf plants, 7-star blue. There were a lot of spirit plants in the stone forest. In just half a day, the 3 of them had gotten 3 to 4 of them each. The lowest value among them was at least 1,000 mid-rank soul stones, while the most valuable one would be the 7-star blue, which was the main material for the Earth Astral Pellet. The Earth Astral Pellet could increase the total Zhen Yuan of early astral-reaching realm warriors, and it was also useful for mid- and late astral-reaching realm warriors. If there were enough of it, it would not take too long to reach the peak level from late astral-reaching realm. One 7-star blue could be used to make dozens of Earth Astral Pellet. Without soul power, Grand Elder Chen and Lu Mei did not even get 30% of what Yi Chen had gotten, and that was after Yi Chen had been holding back a little, leaving some leftovers for them. Yeah. What kind of spirit plant is this? There is a pure soul qi on it. Yi Chen's pupils shrank. The soul was the foundation of a human being. Physical wounds could be healed, but if the soul was wounded, it would be devastating. Therefore, the spirit plant with the soul qi would be the top spirit plant without a doubt. Shoo! His body turned into a wisp of black smoke, disappearing within a blink of an eye. Lu Mei was surprised. Did he find something? There were no traces of beasts in the stone forest. The three had already started to use their mental power to scan the area a couple of hours ago. Right then, seeing that Yi Chen had flown out without saying a word, they thought that he had found some kind of treasure. Let's go as well, Grand Elder Chen said. In the deep part of the stone forest, there was a 10 meters tall and 10 meters wide flat rock. On top of the rock, there were two 1-foot-tall crystal-clear spirit plants growing. The stems of the spirit plants were twisted, and with a closer look, one could see that they were bent 9 times in total. There were 6 leaves on the top of the stem, which had a hint of black in it. Under the cover of the leaves there was an object that looked like a fruit, but not a fruit or a flower. It was made up of rice grain-sized grains, surrounded by a light-colored qi. This is the 9-turn spirit plant. Oh my God! It really exists! If it were not for the fact that Yi Chen was standing right next to the plant, Grand Elder Chen would have rushed up and tried to take it for himself. 9-turn spirit plant? Can you explain? Yi Chen turned his head and looked at the two. Grand Elder Chen said, the 9-turn spirit plant is extremely rare in the world. Eating it directly can increase one's lifespan by 9 years, and it can also strengthen the human body's soul. Not only increasing one's lifespan, but strengthening one's soul is something that even Sea of Souls realm warriors dream about. You have to know that the more powerful the soul is, the more powerful the willpower it can carry. In other words, if the soul is powerful enough, then the potential of the martial spirit will be powerful enough. Besides that, it is extremely hard to increase the power of the martial spirit. So, the relationship between the soul and the willpower is just like I had guessed. Yi Chen had already sensed that the relationship between the soul and the willpower was not normal. Right now, after hearing Grand Elder Chen's explanation, he had a clear feeling about it. Without any hesitation, Yi Chen directly moved the whole rock and the plant into his mid-rank storage ring. The mid-rank storage ring was 10 times bigger than the low-rank one, and could barely contain a 10-meter square rock. A look of admiration appeared on Grand Elder Chen's face. He was still far from the end of his lifespan, but no one would not want to see the plant, and he was no exception. Chapter 370. The stone forest seemed to be boundless, as if there was no end to it. The three had been searching inside for a couple of days, but besides some spirit plants, they had found nothing. In the middle of the 1,000-meter-tall rock, there were 3 caves that were dozens of meters apart. These caves were made by Yi Chen and the other 2. They were a couple of meters wide and dozens of meters deep. Inside the middle cave, Yi Chen sat on the ground with his legs crossed. In his hand was a sky demon flower petal. My body has already been strengthened to an extreme. Continuing to strengthen, it would not have much effect. I can only use it to heal wounds in the future. Although Yi Chen did not train body-strengthening martial arts, after being trained by the Sky Demon Flower, his body was definitely one of the best among astral-reaching realm warriors. In a battle with the same cultivation, it would not be easy to hurt him anymore. Putting away the Sky Demon Flower petal, Yi Chen focused on the 9-twist spirit plant in his storage ring. After thinking for a while, he tore off a leaf from it. The leaf was finger-long, crystal clear with a hint of black, looking like a beautiful jade. Putting the leaf into his mouth, Yi Chen did not see anything strange, so he chewed it up and swallowed it. A wave of cool qi spread out, seeping into his limbs and the deepest part of his body. Then, a faintly discernible light-colored vibration rose up directly, rushing into his soul ocean between his eyebrows. Right then, Yi Chen could clearly feel that his soul power had increased a bit, and his mind was clear. Indeed, this 9-twist spirit plant has the effect of strengthening the soul. I wonder how effective it would be if I swallow it whole. With that thought in mind, Yi Chen did not hesitate anymore. He took out that 9-twist spirit plant with one leaf torn off and swallowed it whole. More cool qi spread out to his limbs, and the light-colored vibration was like a clear spring, rushing into his soul ocean, bringing up hundreds of meters tall waves. Boom! Between his eyebrows, Yi Chen's eyebrows bulged like a King Kong pearl. He had sunk into a deep state. The soul ocean was the origin of the soul. The depth and size of the soul ocean represented the power of the soul. An entire plant of 9-twist reverse spirit plant had brought an unparalleled effect. Yi Chen only felt like he was floating in the air, as if his soul could carry his body, and a blurry door was slowly opening. When he opened his eyes again, a day had passed in the outside world. Is the strength of the soul the true strength? Yi Chen's strength hadn't increased at all, but he felt more confident and more powerful than before. It was as if he could make his opponent bow their heads without a fight with a single glance. This was strength from the inside out and a deep level of nobility. Quietly releasing his soul power, Yi Chen realized that the range of his soul power had increased by 30%, from 40 miles to 50 miles. I've already consumed one. I'll save the other one for later use in concocting pills. Medicinal pills were the crystallization of human wisdom. Compared to the original medicinal power of spiritual herbs, medicinal pills could increase the original medicinal power to a whole new level. Rising to his feet, Yi Chen flew to the air outside the cave. Grand Elder Chen and Lu Mei had noticed Yi Chen's movement, so they followed him out. The two exchanged a look with Yi Chen. They were both shocked, and there was a slight numbness in their bodies. Yi Chen's pupils were pitch black. Wherever his gaze landed, the air seemed to freeze, and a vague willpower started to affect the environment. Willpower in one's gaze? How is this possible? Grand Elder Chen was shocked. It was not that there were no warriors with willpower that was more powerful than Yi Chen's. All of the warriors who had condensed their martial spirits were more powerful than Yi Chen's willpower. However, they could only imbue their willpower into themselves, and could not affect others. Even Sea of Souls realm warriors could not imbue their eyes with willpower. Only the most powerful Sea of Souls realm warriors could do so. As the numbness disappeared, Grand Elder Chen and Lu Mei subconsciously felt respect for Yi Chen. The young man in front of them had a more powerful foundation than they had imagined. It was not something that a single 9-turn spirit grass could do. Yi Chen saw the two's strange expression and thought about something. He took back his gaze and said, "You two, let's continue looking for a way out." "All right." As they got deeper, the rocks in the stone forest became more and more majestic. The three of them stopped in front of a majestic rock that was 3,000 meters tall. At the bottom of the rock, there was a 33 meters tall stone door. It was tightly shut, with human figures carved on both sides. Willpower door. Grand Elder Chen was twice as old as Yi Chen and Lu Mei combined. His knowledge was not something the two could compete with, so he could recognize the meaning of the stone door immediately. Willpower door? I have heard about it before. It seems like if one wants to open the door, one would have to go through the willpower attack of the human figures. If one could not handle it, then they would not be able to enter. Lu Mei took over the conversation. Grand Elder Chen nodded. With the existence of the willpower door, there should be no other way to enter. If we try to force our way in, there might be a disaster waiting for us. Then let's go in through the willpower door. Yi Chen was the first one to arrive in front of the door, reaching out his hand to push. Who? The two human figures seemed to have come back to life. They groaned angrily, as an invisible willpower made the air as thick as water, covering all three of them. Yi Chen looked straight ahead, his back straight. His own sword willpower clashed with the willpower of the two figures, and he did not take a single step back. Grand Elder Chen seemed to be extremely weak. Although the willpower attack was not real, it could be turned into reality. If he thought that he was hurt, then he was really hurt. Pooh! Puking out a mouthful of blood, Grand Elder Chen's face was extremely pale. Lu Mei was not much better than Grand Elder Chen. Under the willpower attack, the scene of her being thrown into the air appeared in her mind. The next second, she puked out a mouthful of blood, which matched her imagination. Kill! Yi Chen stood in the front, so he had to bear the strongest willpower attack. His whole body was like a small boat in the ocean, drifting with the current. The ancient longsword above his soul sea vibrated as he pushed his sword intent, using the condensed sword intent to cut open the willpower. The illusion in his mind did not appear, nor did it move at all. After a long time, the willpower disappeared, and the stone door opened slowly. Oh! Letting out a heavy breath, Yi Chen turned around to look at Grand Elder Chen and Lu Mei. The two of them were sweating profusely, their faces pale, and their eyes filled with fear. Willpower to hurt people? How unbelievable! How powerful must one be to do that? Yi Chen could not imagine how horrifying the willpower contained in those statues was. Facing the willpower just now, the only thing he could do was to stay true to himself and use his sword intent to fight against it. After resting for a while, Grand Elder Chen and Lu Mei recovered a little. Let's go in. Grand Elder Chen really wanted to know what was inside the door of willpower. It must be something special. Entering the stone door, the first thing they saw was a wide field. In front of the field, there were 11 huge statues arranged in order. They were made of ordinary materials, which were gray without any color. It seemed like they would fall with one push. There was nothing special about them. Yi Chen realized that there were more than 11 statues. In between some of the statues there were a lot of broken stones, which had the shape of the statues. Obviously, they had been broken. Looking around, there were 7 broken statues in total. Adding the ones that were still intact, there were 18 of them in total. Grand Elder Chen was completely shocked. Willpower statues. 11 willpower statues. This is something even more horrifying than the door of willpower. Hearing him, Yi Chen frowned secretly as he walked slowly to the last statue. There was a stone plate on the ground in front of the statue, with 4 big words written on it, Gold Hand King. Gold Hand King. King. Was this not a statue of a life and death realm warrior? Yi Chen sucked in a breath of cold air. The will statues of the king warriors were not something to be trifled with. Who had set up 18 will statues inside this rock? What was with the shattered will statues? Why were there still 11 complete ones here? All of a sudden, a lot of thoughts flashed through Yi Chen's mind. Grand Elder Chen and Lu Mei walked over to have a look, and they were even more shocked. The willpower statues were also divided into different levels. Without a doubt, the king warrior's willpower was the top one. Grand Elder Chen was shocked for a while before he said slowly, "The willpower statues are different from the door of willpower. The door of willpower tests the warrior's willpower, and one would not be able to get much benefit from it. However, the willpower statues could allow the warrior to gain enlightenment. For example, if the owner of the willpower statue was a blade artist, then it would be best for a blade artist to take the test. If the owner was a fist art warrior, then it would be best for a fist art warrior to take the test. It would be the same for the others. Those broken willpower statues should have been taken by someone before, and then they broke on their own. The remaining 11 willpower statues have not been used yet. I think I will not take the test. The willpower attack from the door of willpower had almost broken me down. The king warrior's willpower attack would definitely shatter my willpower." Lu Mei took a deep breath, her eyes clear and bright. Grand Elder Chen nodded. The willpower of a life and death realm warrior could already affect reality. Although there is only a trace of willpower left in this statue, it is still not something that the door of willpower can compare with. Of course, the willpower of the statue is not fixed. It will increase according to the power of the warrior's willpower. If the warrior is already a life and death realm warrior, then the willpower in the statue would be the limit of the warrior's willpower. Grand Elder Chen, do you want to take the test of the willpower statue? Yi Chen asked. Grand Elder Chen hesitated for a while, then forced a smile and said, Nah, it is too dangerous. Then the two of you can leave first. Lu Mei was surprised. You want to take it? That's right. Taking the test of the willpower statue was a very dangerous thing to do, so Yi Chen had to ask the two to leave. Otherwise, if either one of them decided to do something bad to him at the critical moment, he would be doomed forever, which was not something he wanted to see. The two understood Yi Chen's intention, so they turned around and walked out of the stone door. Boom! The stone door was closed. If the two wanted to enter, they would have to take the test again. Before, Yi Chen had taken most of the willpower attack, so the two were only slightly wounded. Without Yi Chen, they would not be able to enter again. Taking a deep breath, Yi Chen walked back to the statue. Finally, I implore everyone to vote for me. Chapter 371. The last King's Will statue was that of Golden Hand King. Unsurprisingly, this Gold Hand King specialized in hand art. Apart from Sword Dao and Blade Dao, although the wills of other life and death kings were no different, there were definitely some subtle differences. For example, if a person who specialized in staff arts were to take the test of Gold Hand King's will, the result would certainly not be as good as a person who specialized in hand arts. The second last statue had already shattered, and 3 words were carved on it: Earth-Splitting King. The remaining statues were Wind Cloud Blade King, Divine Whip King, Silver Spear King, Dual Sword King, Tyrant Fist King, Chasing Wind King, Diamond King, Bewitching Eye King. The third was Iron Sword King, and the first was a titled monarch, Star Emperor. Every statue seemed ordinary, but when one calmed down and sensed their existence, the statues seemed to have come to life. Golden Hand King's Will statue shone with a golden light, and a sky-covering hand descended from the sky, leaving no place to escape. Wind Cloud Blade King's blade swept out, causing the heaven and earth to change color. Silver Spear King's silver spear pierced through the sky like a silver meteor. Dual Sword King held a sword in each hand, and the 2 swords intersected, severing vitality. Tyrant Fist King's fists filled one's field of vision, encompassing the heaven and earth. Wind Chasing King's attacks were formless and invisible, representing extreme speed. Diamond King's majestic muscles bulged, and each of his movements contained boundless might. Bewitching Eye King's pupils were vertical, and when they contracted, an indescribable power pierced through the void. The third-ranked Iron Sword King gave Yi Chen a taste of sword aura. With a casual wave of his sword, the mountains and rivers split apart. Everything before his eyes seemed like fleeting clouds. As for the Star Emperor, Yi Chen couldn't use words to describe him. He couldn't see the Star Emperor, and could only see the dark sky filled with countless stars. Meteors were falling from the sky at every moment, striking the ground. On this statue, Yi Chen could sense a trace of the will of the heavenly Tao, which could not be resisted. Is this the aura of a life and death king? The second-ranked statue has some words on it. The second statue had been used by someone, and it was called Mysterious King. On the lower right corner of the stone slab were 2 lines of word. 18 remaining 15. Don't take Star Emperor, just Mysterious King. Through Mysterious Gate, rise above emperors, and attack heavenly will. To Yen Qingxian, Xianho? It was Xianho. The one who left these words was actually the world-famous Xianho. Xuanho's title was taken from her name, Yen Qingxian. The word Xian was a homonym, and it was extremely mysterious. However, from the looks of it now, there was more than one meaning. The title of King of Mysteries also had a mysterious meaning, and Xianho had mentioned the door of mysteries in the words she left behind. The combination of the 3 meanings was the mystery of Xianho. The 2 lines of words contained Xuanho's lofty aspirations. 18 remaining 15 should mean that of the 18 statues, only 15 remained intact. Don't take Star Emperor meant that she didn't accept the trial of Star Emperor's statue, not that she didn't dare. It could be seen that Xianhou had the ability to accept the trial of Star Emperor's statue, but she had given up. With mysterious gait, rise above emperors, and attack heavenly will, it was easy to guess that Xianhou already had her own Tao. This Tao was precisely the door of mysteries, which allowed her to rise above emperors and attack heavenly will. This is a powerful woman who pursues the peak. Yi Chen let out a breath. He could imagine that Xianhou wasn't a life and death king at that time, and she might not have even entered Sea of Soul Realm. However, she didn't have the slightest doubt that she would vanish in the crowd. She even said that she would use her own Tao to surpass all emperors. Right now, she had already accomplished half of it. Under Su King, no one dared to say that they could surpass Xianhou. What was even more frightening was that Xuanhou's life had only just begun. Of course, the higher one's strength, the wider one's horizons. Yi Chen had long known that true spirit continent wasn't the whole world, and that life and death kings weren't limited to what they seemed on the surface. There were still many old monsters and demons who had been in seclusion for hundreds of years. When they returned, true spirit continent would be reshuffled. Among the 11 statues, there are 2 statues of Sword Kings. Let's start with Dual Sword King's will statue. Retracting his gaze, Yi Chen arrived before Dual Sword King's will statue. Dual Sword King was a middle-aged man with a grim expression. He wore a golden crown on his head and a close-fitting battle robe on the outside. He had a wrist guard on his wrist and a sword on either side of his waist. These 2 swords weren't the same. The one on the left was slightly wider, while the one on the right was slightly longer. A faintly discernible murderous aura lingered around them. I wonder what Dual Sword King's sword will looks like. His expression suddenly turned grave and stern. The ancient longsword above Yi Chen's Sea of Soul trembled, and an all-conquering sword intent spread out on Dual Sword King's will statue. Kill! Kill! With the word kill resounding in his ears, a light figure walked out of Dual Sword King's will statue. As soon as this light figure appeared, Yi Chen knew that it was Dual Sword King's will image. A frightening pressure filled the heaven and earth. Even the void couldn't bear his presence and loudly collapsed. In the next moment, Yi Chen's pupils shrank. He saw Dual Sword King's will image pull out the 2 swords at his waist, crisscrossing them and slashing at an unimaginable speed. 2 huge cracks appeared in the space, and Yi Chen couldn't even move a finger. Rip! In a flash, Yi Chen's body shattered into thousands of pieces. Blood collided in the air and scattered in all directions like a huge flower of blood. Haha, my slaughter sword will connects the past and present. Die. Dual Sword King's will image laughed crazily, his long hair fluttering in the wind. My will is immortal and inextinguishable. My soul is eternal. Your sword will is thousands of times stronger than mine, so what? This is just a remnant of your will. It can't affect reality. Everything is an illusion. Everything is fabricated. Reassemble. Blood spurted out from the corner of the eyes, and the lips on the flesh let out a loud roar. A horrifying light shot out from Yi Chen's eyes as his sword will spread out. In an instant, thousands of pieces of flesh reassembled, forming a complete body. Immortal sword will, what a familiar feeling. Who are you to Battle King? No, sword will can't be inherited. Everyone has their own will. This should be the sword will you comprehended from Battle King. Battle King, since you have such achievements in sword will, why do you call yourself Battle King? I know you've always wanted to call yourself Sword King, or even Sword Emperor. Unfortunately, the title of Sword King has already been taken by the ancients. Today's titled monarchs were just weak monarchs in the ancient times. A single Sword King could beat everyone under the heavens. Dual Sword King's will image murmured to himself, then his eyes fell on Yi Chen. Your will is very young. You should be a little brat. Brat, what is your goal? Yi Chen didn't know if the other could hear him or not, but he said resolutely, my goal is very simple. I want to become stronger step by step. Haha, I can't hear your voice, but I can feel your will. Brat, attack the Sword King. Wait until the day you become a Sword King. There should be no one under the heavens who can be your opponent. Since ancient times, no one has ever surpassed the ancient Sword Kings in sword will. Buzz. After saying this, the dual Sword Kings' will image turned into countless light dots and dissipated. The will statue behind him cracked and collapsed. Looking straight at the rubble, Yi Chen thought, Slaughter Sword Will, what an amazing sword will. If it was still alive, its will could affect reality, and I would have already died 1,000 times. When a person is dead, the will has no support and can only exist in nothingness. However, if it is deceived by the illusion, then it is true death. There is only a fine line between life and death. Closing his eyes, Yi Chen felt the moment just now. Dual Sword King was famous for his dual swords. One sword was for killing everyone in front of him. The other was for massacring, slaughtering the world. With the two swords combined, he became a king. After a long time, Yi Chen opened his eyes. This is not my sword Dao, but I can use it as a reference. Moving his feet, Yi Chen arrived in front of Iron Sword King's will statue, which was ranked third. Iron Sword King's will statue's expression was very calm, with a trace of loneliness. The simple and unadorned iron sword was casually inserted into the ground, slanted and 3 feet away from his palm. Calming his mind, Yi Chen urged his sword intent to radiate onto Iron Sword King's will statue. Iron Sword King's will image walked out step by step. He didn't attack Yi Chen, but looked up at the sky and said, "It's getting dark." Yi Chen's eyes were firm, unmoved. Your sword will has an immortal nature. Among the younger generation, only Battle King has this potential. However, you are not him. Your will is more reserved, while his will has always been one of supremacy. Perhaps you are his successor. Iron Sword King's words made Yi Chen realize that this person had become famous before Battle King. When he died, Battle King hadn't reached the legendary level. My will is the destruction sword will. With one sword, all things will be destroyed. Take advantage of the darkness to make your move. Clang. Pulling out the iron sword phantom beside him, Iron Sword King's will image calmly stood there. After experiencing the slaughter sword will, Yi Chen's heart was as calm as an ancient well. Extinguish. With a casual wave of the iron sword, heaven and earth ceased to exist, and everything turned into primal chaos. Previously, Yi Chen had secretly estimated Iron Sword King's sword will, but with a wave of his sword, he immediately understood that Iron Sword King's sword will was twice as strong as Dual Sword King's. It was uncertain whether Battle King's achievements were higher than his. Body and soul, instantly annihilated. Yi Chen couldn't feel himself. He was muddle-headed and lost all his 5 senses. Drifting with the current, it was as if he had disappeared from this world. A speck of brilliance lit up. It was the essence of Yi Chen's will. Immortal! Immortal! Reassemble! Faintly, Yi Chen's 5 senses gradually recovered, but he didn't have a body. He roared and automatically condensed a will image, contending against Iron Sword King's destruction sword will. Not bad, you have grasped the essence of immortality and firmly believe that you are immortal. Iron Sword King's will image nodded with a smile. Chapter 372. At this moment, Yi Chen didn't have a body. Strictly speaking, he didn't have a body in the world of will. In the real world, he just stood there motionlessly, looking at the Iron Sword King's will statue in front of him. There were traces of cracks spreading on the statue. They were very small, but they were already showing signs of collapsing. Feeling the will image condensed in his body, Yi Chen's 5 senses were very subtle. He could see things he couldn't see before and sense mysteries he couldn't sense before. He was very clear that he could condense the will image only under the guidance of Iron Sword King's will. In reality, he was still far from it. Trying his best to counteract Iron Sword King's destruction Sword Dao will, Yi Chen's will image gradually turned blurry, wanting to return to reality. Right at this moment, the storage ring on Yi Chen's finger flickered with a dim light, and the broken Battle King's sword shook uncontrollably. Iron Sword King, long time no see. In the world of will, another will image appeared. This will image was 2 meters tall, with a steel-cast body that was perfectly straight, as if it could support the sky. His eyes were cold and resolute as he looked straight at Iron Sword King. In his right hand was a sword, which was the intact Battle King's sword. Battle King's will image had appeared. "Oh, Battle King, didn't expect you to leave a will in this kid's body." Iron Sword King's brows twitched, somewhat astonished. Battle King glanced at Yi Chen's will image. "He's not my successor, but he can be counted as my successor. The connection between us is nothing more than a broken sword." The two didn't speak, as they couldn't hear each other. This was an exchange of wills. "You've appeared now. Are you planning to exchange pointers with me in Sword Dao?" "That's right." Battle King didn't only have sword intent, but also a battle intent that could break through the shackles of heaven and earth. His jet-black long hair danced in the sky. Iron Sword King revealed an expression of, as expected, "I'm already dead. This will has one last attack left. I hope your immortal Sword Dao will let me have a good time. Bring out your sword. Bring out your sword." After several hundred years, the two kings of Sword Dao met once again. Although it was only a confrontation of wills, it was not something ordinary people could see. On the path of Sword Dao, whose accomplishments were greater would be revealed at this moment. Yi Chen held his breath as he stared unblinkingly at the two's will images. Clang! Blazing flames soared into the sky. It was impossible to see the movements of the two. Almost in an instant, the swords of the Battle King and Iron Sword King collided with each other as they poured all their strength into their swords. Roar! The Iron Sword King roared. The gaze emitted from his eyes was even more frightening than the sword chi. "My achievements have long surpassed yours. Retreat." It had to be said that the Battle King's immortal sword will was exceptionally frightening. No matter how the destruction sword will attacked, it was still able to maintain its original form and forcibly resist the attack from a distance. On the other hand, the destruction sword will was gradually being whittled away, causing the Iron Sword King's will image to rapidly dim. "Destroy!" The Iron Sword King roared again. His body fused with the sword will and crazily slashed at the Battle Monarch. The will power that could destroy everything turned the world into primal chaos. "I'll show you the true essence of the immortal sword will." A sword intent that was so vast that it could pierce through the sky burst out fiercely. The sword intent was like a vast ocean, one wave higher than the other, never stopping. In front of an even more powerful sword intent, the destruction sword will could only launch a futile attack and then be blocked. "Amazing! Your Sword Dao is indeed above mine." Countless specks of light scattered. The Iron Sword King's will fluctuation grew weaker and weaker until it finally disappeared. Sheathing his sword, the Battle Monarch turned around. "Your immortality is different from mine, do you understand?" Yi Chen didn't expect that the Battle Monarch's first words would be this. After pondering for a moment, he slowly said, "I understand. Everyone's willpower was different because people were born with differences. Imitating someone else's path would only end up shackling oneself. To be able to comprehend your own immortal sword will from my sword intent, no wonder you could reach this step." After a pause, the Battle Monarch continued, "I have nothing left for you. I will impart all of my Sword Dao experiences into your mind to help you advance further." Raising his right index and middle fingers, the Battle Monarch pointed at the space between Yi Chen's eyebrows. Buzz! Countless chaotic information poured into Yi Chen's soul sea, almost causing it to collapse. Yi Chen was overwhelmed with shock. The Battle Monarch's method was simply unfathomable. He was actually able to impart his sword Dao experiences into someone else's mind. Don't be surprised. My sword will is the immortal sword will, and my sword Dao experiences also have an immortal nature. If it were someone else, no matter how strong they were, they wouldn't be able to do anything. After saying the last sentence, the battle monarch's will image collapsed. After an unknown amount of time, the Yi Chen in the real world opened his eyes. Dual Sword King, Iron Sword King, Battle Monarch, many thanks. From the Dual Sword King's Slaughter Sword Will and the Iron Sword King's Destruction Sword Will, Yi Chen had gained a lot. However, he still couldn't convert them into real battle power. Battle Monarch's Immortal Sword Will had given Yi Chen a direct epiphany. Once his sword will reached perfection, he would be able to advance by leaps and bounds. First, let me take a look at the Battle Monarch's Sword Dao experiences. Sinking his consciousness into his soul sea, Yi Chen wandered through the unfamiliar information flow. At the age of 13, he left home and joined a small and weak gang. Amidst bloody and fiery battles, he comprehended sword will and became a gang leader. At the age of 16, he entered clasping Yuan realm, and by 17, he could be said to be unrivaled in clasping Yuan realm. At 19, he entered astral reaching realm. Roaming the continent, he met young sword artists everywhere and fought countless times. His sword skills became increasingly exquisite, and his sword will became increasingly intense. At the age of 22, there was no young sword artist on True Spirit continent who could be his opponent. At 25, he sensed sword intent as a rootless source, and comprehended the immortal will. At 26, he advanced to Sea of Soul realm with a solid foundation, and became the youngest life and death king in hundreds of years, and was called Battle Monarch. Time flowed like water, and Battle Monarch's life replayed in Yi Chen's mind. Without a doubt, Battle Monarch's experiences were incomparable to Yi Chen's, and what Yi Chen lacked was precisely experience. Without enough experience, his sword will could not be perfected, and could not advance further. This had nothing to do with talent or comprehension, but was purely a kind of perfection of the soul. Perfection of sword will was not much different from greater success sword will in terms of power. However, everyone knew that incomplete sword will was incomplete, and there were still flaws and loopholes. Battle Monarch's sword Dao experience filled in the blanks of Yi Chen's experience. A shattering sound seemed to resound in the depths of his heart, and his sword will rejoiced as if it had regained its freedom. This is perfection. So that's how it is. Yi Chen could feel that his sword will had already become perfect, without a single flaw. In the future, the only thing that mattered would be the difference in strength. After perfection of sword will, it is time to condense the sword soul. I believe that because I comprehended the immortal sword will, before my sword will reached perfection, it already had the shape of a sword soul embryo, but I haven't reached the realm yet. With the huge Battle King's sword will as his database, Yi Chen's knowledge of sword will was not inferior to any sword king. Only then did he realize that the ancient longsword above his soul was actually the sword soul embryo, and that warriors could also condense the martial soul embryo, just like Shin Tujue. The sword soul was about attacking power. The martial soul was about all aspects. It was hard to say which of the two was better, but the key lay in the user's usage. Reaching perfection of sword will still require a long period of time before I have enough willpower to condense the sword soul embryo. However, I am different from ordinary sword artists. Before I reach the realm, my sword will automatically condense into the sword soul embryo, which saves me a lot of time. Now let me continue. Condensing the sword soul embryo required a huge amount of willpower. Fortunately, Yi Chen had refined 4 blood evil stones, one of which contained a huge amount of willpower, which was equivalent to 4 ordinary blood evil stones. The amount of willpower stored in it was enough to support him to the next step. Above his soul sea, the silver mist poured into the ancient longsword. The ancient long sword vibrated, and gradually, a faint silver color appeared. Trace by trace, the speed at which the ancient long sword devoured the willpower became faster and faster. From time to time, a sharp sword will would leak out from the soul sea. Bang! All of the silver mist had been devoured, and the ancient-looking long sword expanded by a couple of times, growing from a finger long to 3 fingers long. The rich sword intent was condensed and contained within. As the owner of the sword spirit, Yi Chen felt unprecedentedly powerful. If I were an ordinary sword artist, I would have condensed a true sword soul by now. However, I am still at the sword soul embryo realm. To condense a true sword soul embryo, the amount of willpower required would be enormous. However, merely based on the amount of sword will, it is several times more than an ordinary sword artist's sword soul embryo, which is equivalent to the might of a true sword soul. In this aspect, I have already surpassed any astral reaching realm sword artist, and am no different from an ordinary sea of soul realm sword artist. Extending his right index finger, a green lotus sword chi pierced out. Puff, puff, puff. The sword chi not only pierced through the rock Yi Chen was standing on, it even pierced through 3 nearby rocks. On the wrist-sized sword hole, the sword will didn't dissipate, making one's hair stand on end. Its might has doubled. If Grand Elder Chen were to hear these words, he would certainly be dumbstruck. Before this, Yi Chen was already an astral-reaching paragon. Now that his offensive power had doubled, it could no longer be described with words. Among astral-reaching experts, who could defeat Yi Chen? In other words, the iron rule of astral-reaching paragon was on the verge of shattering. In the past, it was not that there had never been battles between astral-reaching paragon. At most, they would have the upper hand, but there was no possibility of casualties. Who could have known that a person like Yi Chen would appear? In terms of invincibility, perhaps from now on, there would only be one astral-reaching paragon, Yi Chen. Chapter 373. My goal of dominating the astral-reaching realm should be considered accomplished. It wasn't that Yi Chen was being arrogant, but this was the truth. In terms of sword will, Yi Chen's realm was at the embryonic form of sword soul. Its might was comparable to a true sword soul, which was enough to contend against ordinary sea of soul realm sword artists. In terms of cultivation base, although Yi Chen was still at late astral reaching realm, and there was still a gap between him and peak late astral reaching realm, he cultivated a top-rank earth-grade technique, Green Lotus Sword Arts. Moreover, he had cultivated it to the peak of the 13th layer. The quantity and quality of his Jin Yuan surpassed peak late astral reaching realm expert. This was not a disadvantage, but an advantage. In terms of mentality, Yi Chen's thunder mentality and wood mentality had reached the limit, followed by fast mentality, then slow mentality, followed by cloud mentality and earth mentality. Be it in terms of quantity or quality, he was at the forefront. In terms of martial arts, all of them were top-notch goods. His movement art was Shadow Clone movement art, which was amplified by Flow 3 Mysterious Spell, a top-rank Earth-grade technique. His sword art was Green Lotus Sword Arts, which had 9 styles, each stronger than the last. It was also a top-rank Earth-grade technique. His fused sword move, Sky Shattering Clouds, had already fused to the 7th style, and its might was not inferior to the complete 8th style of Green Lotus Sword Arts. His self-created sword art, Fast 4 Swords, was based on speed, and each sword was faster than the last. In terms of speed, he was unrivaled. It could be said that apart from having no upper-grade artifact, Yi Chen had completely surpassed astral-reaching paragons in other aspects, and not just by a little bit. What was more frightening was that even at this level, Yi Chen still hadn't exhausted his potential. In terms of cultivation base, if he could reach the peak of late astral reaching realm, his battle power would increase by at least 20%, and his 20% would be equivalent to 30 to 40% of others. The will statues of Dual Sword King and Iron Sword King had already collapsed. Yi Chen looked at the stone slab in front of him and shook his head. Forget it. Xianhou was Xianhou and he was him. There was no need to leave any traces of his presence. Yi Chen moved his vision away from the stone slab and looked at the statue of the Star Emperor, which was ranked first. He murmured to himself, "The Star Emperor's will is very close to the heavenly Tao, and it's much stronger than the Combat King's will. Of course, if I were cultivating the martial Tao, I would have to risk my life to take the test. Unfortunately, I'm cultivating the Sword Tao. I don't have to stick to the old rules, but it's not the right time yet. One day, when my attainments in the Sword Tao reach the Combat King level, I will be able to absorb all the knowledge I can use to temper my Sword Tao. Leave it to the Fated One." Yi Chen resolutely turned around and walked towards the tightly shut stone door. Boom! The stone door slowly opened from the inside. Through the gap, Yi Chen saw Grand Elder Chen and Lu Mei sitting on the ground with their eyes closed. "Grand Elder Yi, did you succeed?" As soon as Grand Elder Chen said those words, he regretted it immediately. It was not bullshit. If he did not succeed, then he would die. Taking the test of willpower was not like a master teaching his disciple. There was only a fine line between life and death. Obviously, since Yi Chen had made it out alive, then he had passed the test. Yi Chen didn't care about Grand Elder Chen's words and nodded. "You really don't want to take the trial? This is a rare opportunity." Lu Mei shook her head. "No, the King Will Statue's trial is not something anyone can take. Moreover, I'll be satisfied if I can reach the Sea of Soul realm in this lifetime. As for higher realms, I don't have any extravagant hope. It seems that accepting the King Will Statue's trial won't give me the aptitude to enter the life and death realm. So, why should I take the risk?" Grand Elder Lu is right. Not everyone can take the King Will attack. On True Spirit Continent, only 3 out of 10 people who take the King Will Statue's trial can survive. And these 10 are all astonishing geniuses. We can't even compare to them. Yi Chen turned silent. Just as the two had said, accepting the trial was indeed a dangerous action. Dual Sword King's Slaughter Sword will had instantly sliced his will into thousands of pieces. If it were someone else, they wouldn't believe that they were still alive. In that case, they would really die in reality. Without any mishaps, Iron Sword King's Destruction Sword will was twice as frightening as the Slaughter Sword will. His will had been completely shattered, and he couldn't even sense his own existence. His life and death were unknown. If not for his immortal intent, Yi Chen believed that his chances of surviving would be less than 30%. Accepting the King Will Statue's trial required one to have the qualifications. Otherwise, there would be no chance of survival. Before leaving, Grand Elder Chen and Lu Mei glanced at the half-closed stone gate and were greatly alarmed. Of the 11 King Will statues, 2 had collapsed. Didn't this mean that Yi Chen had accepted the trial of 2 will statues in a row? This kind of will was enough to shock anyone. There's a conveyor gate in the stone forest, but it hasn't been activated. Yi Chen's soul power had a vast range. On the 3rd day, he finally found a hope of leaving. Of course, in order to conceal his soul power, Yi Chen didn't immediately explain. Instead, he intentionally or unintentionally approached the gate, and only spoke of his discovery when he was less than 15 li away. Conveyor gate. Haha, there's hope. Grand Elder Chen let out a sigh of relief. This place was extremely desolate. If he were to stay here for the rest of his life, he would surely die. On the other hand, Bewilderment Fog Island had a population of more than 10 million, and there were many experts as well. Lu Mei also revealed a smile. Although it hasn't been activated, it's still better than having no hope at all. The conveyor gate was slightly damaged, and there were some ancient patterns carved on it. The patterns shone faintly. Obviously, this was not an abandoned conveyor gate. Let's join hands and pour Injun Yuan to see if we can activate it. Grand Elder Chen suggested. All right. Yi Chen and Lu Mei nodded. The three of them stood at three different angles and slowly placed their hands on the gate. Their Zhen Yuan started to boil and pour in at a constant speed. As the Zhen Yuan continued to pour in, the light on the patterns became brighter and brighter. After a while, a black light traveled along the patterns. Woo! The patterns lit up, and a black whirlpool appeared inside the stone gate. Let's go! The three of them stepped into the black vortex at the same time and disappeared from sight. The thick fog covered the entire place, and one couldn't even see their own fingers. Three figures appeared out of nowhere, floating above the lake. Haha, Grand Elder Yi, Grand Elder Lu, our luck is really good. We were actually transported within 1,000 li of Bewilderment Fog Island. The sensory ball is reacting. Grand Elder Chen took out the sensory ball from his storage ring. Seeing the dangerous orange light flickering on it, he couldn't help but laugh heartily. Yi Chen chuckled. Being able to walk out of there alive is already luck in itself. Right, with 500 beasts, even an astral-reaching paragon would have little hope of surviving. Of course, this is all thanks to Grand Elder Yi. Without Yi Chen, even if the three hid underground, they wouldn't have been able to escape from the beast's pursuit. After all, at the astral-reaching realm, who could use soul power? Soul power was higher than mind power. Even if they scanned the beasts, they wouldn't be discovered. If it were any other astral-reaching paragon, they wouldn't even dare to use mind power to explore the way. How could they escape? Let's return to Bewilderment Fog Island. Yeah, let's go. With the sensory ball, the three didn't need to worry about getting lost, and headed straight for Bewilderment Fog Island. Bewilderment Fog Palace Hall, what? The three of them came out alive? The island lord of Bewilderment Fog Island, the black-robed old man, was very surprised, but soon revealed a smile. He thought to himself, the rumor of the reversed 9-turn spirit grass isn't fake. It really exists. According to secret information, several hundred years ago, someone disappeared for no reason and suddenly reappeared. One time, when he was drunk, he unintentionally revealed the news of obtaining the reversed 9-turn spirit grass and was chased by others. Presumably, the three of them have hope of obtaining the reversed 9-turn spirit grass. Haha, tell them to come here. The black-robed old man said to the attendant who was bowing. Yes. The attendant turned around and left the hall. Soon, Yi Chen and the other two arrived outside the hall. Come in. The black-robed old man didn't inform anyone. He didn't want the news of the 9-turn spirit grass to spread. Yi Chen and the other two entered the hall. Greetings, Island Master. Grand Elder Chen and Lu Mei cupped their hands. Yi Chen slightly bowed. The black-robed old man creased his brows and glanced at Yi Chen, then said, I'm very happy that the three of you can return safely. What about the others? Grand Elder Chen said sadly, They're all dead and the ship has been destroyed. You were being chased? Right, there were a lot of bewilderment fog beasts inside. Being able to come out alive is a great fortune. Grand Elder Chen spoke vaguely, not giving too many details. Firstly, it was because of Yi Chen. Secondly, they had harvested a lot of rare spirit grasses and didn't intend to hand them over. So that's how it is. Being able to come out alive is indeed a great fortune. The black-robed old man faintly nodded and said, however, your harvest this time is certainly not small. Hand over your storage rings. I'll only take a portion. I won't let you leave empty-handed. He couldn't directly say that he wanted the 9-turn spirit grass, so he asked the three to hand over their storage rings. Grand Elder Chen and Lu Mei's complexion suddenly changed. Island Master, there doesn't seem to be such a rule, right? Bewilderment Fog Ship's purpose was indeed to search for 9-turn spirit grass, but it didn't say that personal gains would belong to Bewilderment Fog Island. Instead, it was used to report back after discovering a secret location. At that time, all the experts of Bewilderment Fog Island would naturally be dispatched. The black-robed old man's expression turned cold. What? I told you to hand it over, and you'll hand it over. Don't forget the consequences of defying me. At this moment Yi Chen spoke, "Forgive me, but I can't comply. Grand Elder Yi, you've got guts. Do you think you can defy me just because your cultivation base has made some progress? I spared your life before, and I can kill you now." The black-robed old man shouted. Grand Elder Chen and Lu Mei exchanged a glance. Although they were mentally prepared, they were still somewhat afraid when the matter came to a head. Island Master's prestige had been accumulated for a long time, and had long been deeply ingrained in their hearts. Normally, they wouldn't dare defy Island Master. "Grand Elder Lu, what do you think?" Grand Elder Chen transmitted his Zhen Yuan to Lu Mei. Lu Mei muttered, "I believe in Yi Chen." After getting along for a period of time, they clearly understood Yi Chen's strength. He was basically invincible. Yi Chen said in a neither servile nor overbearing manner, "We risked our lives to obtain this. Why do we need your permission to obtain it?" The black-robed old man said in an awe-inspiring tone, "Because I'm the controller of Bewilderment Fog Island. Those who don't listen will all die. Grand Elder Yi, you've already committed a capital offense. Do you understand?" Chapter 374. Guilty of a capital offense? I don't think so. Before his battle strength had advanced, Yi Chen had never feared the Island Master. If he couldn't beat him, couldn't he run? Bewilderment Fog Forbidden Zone was shrouded in dense fog. Hiding was easy. As for now, there was no need to be afraid. The black-robed old man was so angry that he started laughing instead. "Looks like it has been a long time since I fought, and some people of Bewilderment Fog Island have already forgotten my existence. Fine, today I will kill the chicken to warn the monkey, and let everyone know who exactly is the master of Bewilderment Fog Island." Rumble! The chair behind him exploded, and the black-robed old man suddenly stood up. Lightning crackled around his body. "Grand Elder Yi, I'll give you one last chance. Hand over your storage ring, kneel, and accept your punishment. Then I'll spare your dog life. Otherwise, don't blame me for being merciless." The black-robed old man was still a bit worried. Extreme astral-reaching experts weren't easy to kill. If the latter wholeheartedly tried to escape, his chances of success wouldn't exceed 70%. Of course, if Yi Chen insisted on not handing over his storage ring, he wouldn't hesitate in the slightest and would immediately kill him. Life and death are decided by a single thought of yours. Consider it well. The black-robed old man's voice was rather gloomy. His breathing was gradually restrained, like a volcano about to erupt. He was secretly accumulating all the power in his body, striving to kill Yi Chen in an instant. You could have continued to be the island master. Bewilderment Fog Island would still be under your control for the next few decades. Yi Chen said a baffling sentence. "You don't agree. You don't have the qualifications to make me agree. Since you want to die, don't blame me." The black-robed old man's fury erupted like a volcano. The lightning outside his body suddenly gathered in his palm. His figure flickered, and his palm slapped towards Yi Chen's head. This palm carried the fury of thunder, and its speed was as fast as lightning. Even an astral-reaching paragon of the same rank would have to dodge. Yi Chen stood motionless. He didn't take out his longsword, nor did he prepare to meet the attack. Instead, he raised a finger and pointed in the air. Puff! A deep azure sword chi shot out. Under the amplification of sword intent, its speed was as fast as a shooting star. Gotcha! A few arm-thick cracks appeared in the foggy palace hall, and a powerful shockwave gushed out from the entrance of the hall, creating many ravines. Dong 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 dong! Muffled footsteps were heard. The black-robed old man's palm dripped with blood as he was forcibly blown back. His face was full of shock. It had only been half a month, but Yi Chen's strength had already reached such a level. Although he didn't use an upper-grade offensive artifact just now, he believed that he could deal with Yi Chen with just his palms. After all, before obtaining an upper-grade artifact, he was already one of the strongest extreme astral-reaching experts. Dozens of years of bitter cultivation had allowed his basic strength to increase without diminishing. Dealing with a young extreme astral reaching expert was a piece of cake for him. But now, he finally understood that Yi Chen's strength was not what the outside world had estimated. No wonder you dared to defy me. It turns out that you were hiding your true strength. Don't tell me you think you can act presumptuously in front of me with just this bit of strength? Recollecting his shocked expression, the black-robed old man spread out his hands. A dark blue light flickered, and 2 huge iron hammers appeared in his hands. These 2 hammers were more than a meter long, and their handles were as thick as a wrist. The heads of the hammers were 2 cylinders, glowing with a pitch-black metallic luster. Under the black-robed old man's genuine, the ends of the hammers burst out with sharp dark blue lightning, and an incomparably frightening might instantly spread out. Without a doubt, the iron hammers were upper-grade artifacts. A mid-grade artifact's might couldn't even compare to half of its might. Upper-grade artifact, exploding thunder hammer. Grand Elder Chen blurted out. Holding the hammer with both hands, the black-robed old man's eyes filled with killing intent as he said sinisterly, "I found this upper-grade artifact in the ancient ruins. Relying on it, I've killed at least 8 extreme astral-reaching experts, if not 10. You'll be the next." Thunder attribute upper-grade artifact is indeed not ordinary. Among the different types of offensive great weapons, the thunder and fire great weapons were the most overbearing, the earth great weapons were the thickest, the metal great weapons were the sharpest, and the wind great weapons could not only increase one's attack power, but could also increase one's speed. Hammer-type offensive artifacts were originally full of killing power. Coupled with the tyrannical thunder attribute, it was like adding wings to a tiger, breaking through everything. Swish! A long sword appeared in Yi Chen's left hand as he slowly said, "I've never exchanged blows with an astral-reaching paragon. Today I'll use you to sharpen my sword." "How arrogant! Take my furious thunder explosion." The black-robed old man rose from the ground, and the muscles on his arms swelled up. An incomparably vigorous thunder attribute Zhen Yuan poured into the exploding thunder hammer, which ferociously smashed toward Yi Chen, who was not far away. Before the hammer arrived, the ferocious hammer pressure immediately blasted away half of the hall. Berserk lightning snakes swam everywhere, pervading hundreds of meters in radius. Thunder mentality containing explosive power? Facing the black-robed old man's pair of iron hammers, Yi Chen was still in the mood to study his opponent's mentality. It was common knowledge that mentalities were divided into attribute. Apart from the natural attribute mentalities, there were many other attribute. Moreover, mentalities of the same attribute would also differ from person to person. The black-robed old man's thunder mentality contained a kind of explosive power. With a swing of the hammer, the powerful hammer pressure instantly blasted away half of the hall. It was even more offensive than the ordinary thunder mentality. My sky-shattering clouds contains an intense explosive power. Let's see whose thunder mentality is a notch higher. Clang! Unsheathing the thunder sword, Yi Chen held it with one hand and swung out. The sword's swinging speed was full of explosive power, causing the void to tremble. Pung 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 pung, thunderous explosions resounded. In a short period of time, Yi Chen and the black-robed old man exchanged dozens of blows. Each time, they adopted a head-on stance, neither giving way to the other. Finally, the entire foggy hall could no longer endure the exchange of blows and shattered into thousands of pieces, scattering in every direction. Who is fighting in the foggy hall? The numerous Grand Elders and Elders of Bewilderment Fog Island were startled, their faces filled with shock. Soon after, they all rushed in the direction of the exchange. Sub-Island Master's residence. Sub-Island Master Wang raised his head and slightly creased his brows. Among the auras exchanging blows, one was unexpectedly Bewilderment Fog Island's Island Master, while the other was somewhat unfamiliar. He seemed to have seen it before, yet also seemed to have never seen it before. In terms of basic strength, Island Master and I are more or less the same. However, Island Master has two upper-grade artifacts. One is the exploding Thunderhammer, and the other is the defensive artifact Golden Armor. With this golden armor, even if Sub-Island Master Chui and I joined hands, it would still be difficult to break through his defense. Therefore, Island Master is him, not me or Sub-Island Master Chui. This person can fight evenly with Island Master, so his strength is not below mine. Unfortunately, Island Master is innately undefeatable. Swish. Sub-Island Master Wang's feet moved, soaring into the sky. In another Sub-Island Master's residence, Sub-Island Master Chui woke up from his cultivation. With a wave of his palm, the door opened, and his body streaked across the horizon like a blade light. The residences of Sub-Island Master, Grand Elders, and Elders weren't far from the Foggy Hall. In a short period of time, apart from those who were out on business, all the higher-ups of Bewilderment Fog Island had arrived. Everyone's gaze fell on the center of the Foggy Hall, which had been razed to the ground. Immediately they were dumbstruck. The one fighting with Island Master was unexpectedly Yi Chun, who had become a Grand Elder some time ago. This kid has eaten a leopard's gall, daring to fight with Island Master. A middle-aged Grand Elder said. Grand Elder Sun's gaze was filled with schadenfreude. I told you this kid wasn't anything good. Seems like the position of Grand Elder can't satisfy him, and he has his eyes set on the position of Island Master. He doesn't know how to write the word death. Swish. Swish. Sub-Island Master Wang and Sub-Island Master Chui arrived. Sub-Island Master. Everyone cupped their hands towards the two. Sub-Island Master Wang said, "Do you know what happened? We just arrived as well." Nodding, Sub-Island Master Wang's gaze fell on the black-robed old man, then he shifted his gaze. This time, he was shocked. Forcing Island Master to use the explosive Thunderhammer, this strength is no less than yours or mine. Hearing this, Sub-Island Master Chui said solemnly, "He still has some strength left." Still has strength left? Sub-Island Master Wang was quite surprised. If these words came from someone else, he would not believe them. But Sub-Island Master Chui was a saber expert, and his eyesight was the sharpest. Naturally, he would not speak carelessly. Gradually, the many Grand Elders and Elders also saw some clues. After fighting for such a long time, Island Master still hadn't gained the upper hand. Could it be that this kid's strength could already contend against Island Master? Impossible, Island Master hasn't used his killing move yet. Elder Sun immediately denied. Indeed, it's not that there haven't been experts who exchanged a few moves with Island Master in the past, but once Island Master used his killing move, none of them survived. This kid is no exception. Hee, let's see how he dies. Sub-Island Master Wang also shook his head, too reckless. Not only had Island Master not used his killing move, he hadn't even activated his golden armor. Even if Yi Chen's strength was exceedingly high, he still couldn't do anything to Island Master. After fighting for a long time, the black-robed old man's mood started to become irritable. He roared, "Good, you're the third person to be able to exchange so many moves with me in dozens of years. But the next move will take your dog life." Thunder Lion Transformation. Cracking the ground with one foot, the black-robed old man soared into the sky and raised his iron hammer high above his head. Violent thunderbolts gathered at the hammer's head, constantly compressing and mixing, quickly condensing into a lion baring its fangs and brandishing its claws. The lion roared, and a terrifying pressure covered the heaven and earth. Bang! The two hammers suddenly smashed down, and the Thunder Lion rushed out, diving towards Yi Chun. Green Lotus Sprout. Putting the Thunder Sword back into its scabbard, the greenwood sword unsheathed. Still holding the sword with one hand, Yi Chun swung it, and the sword light surged, meeting the Thunder Lion head-on. Puff, puff, puff. Like fireworks exploding, the Thunder Lion was drowned in the sword light. However, this move was, after all, the black-robed old man's killing move, which contained an extremely condensed thunder power. As the sword light came into contact with it, it immediately dimmed. But in the next moment, the dimmed sword light exploded with an even more frightening power, going from weak to strong. Not only did it tear apart the Thunder Lion's body, a beam of sword light even pierced through the lion's forehead. Chapter 375. The Thunder Lion transformation has been broken. Impossible. This attack contains 20% of my power. No one in the astral reaching realm would be able to break it. There must be something wrong, it must be. Brat, go die. Thunder Lion 100 Fission. The black-robed old man's face was full of disbelief. His Thunder Lion transformation had killed countless people, but it had never been broken in a direct confrontation. His face twisted as he furiously roared. The twin hammers vibrated and thunder crackled. Another Thunder Lion rushed out, exploding into countless palm-sized lightning balls. The lightning balls shot out like rain, enveloping Yi Chen within. Unparalleled astral reaching strength is only SOSO. Yi Chen had a rough idea of the black-robed old man's bottom line. Without changing his sword move, his sword aura soared into the sky. With a slash, the lightning balls in the sky were instantly annihilated. Pung! The incomparably sharp sword chi tore through the void and slashed at the black-robed old man's body, blasting him 1,000 meters away. Island Master has been defeated. Am I seeing things? Breaking Island Master's killing move with one sword. Even the Vice Island Master couldn't do it. Could it be that we misjudged him? This kid is pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger. As the Island Master was blasted away, the surroundings became deathly silent. In the next moment, a clamor of discussion spread out, accompanied by the sound of people sucking in cold breath. Grand Elder's son clenched his fists, his veins popping out. He didn't believe that Yi Chen had such strength. Previously, although he had fallen into a disadvantageous position, it would have taken at least several hundred moves to decide the victor. How many days had it been? The opponent's battle power couldn't have reached such a realm. Don't argue, Island Master won't lose. Grand Elder's son shouted. Sub-Island Master Wang and Sub-Island Master Cui exchanged a glance. The two could see the graveness in each other's eyes, an unconcealable graveness. Whether the Island Master had gone all out or not, they were the clearest. However, even the Island Master couldn't resist Yi Chen's attack. Without a doubt, Yi Chen's battle power had already surpassed theirs. A several-meter-wide and 1,000-meter-long ravine was plowed out of the palace, practically splitting the palace into two. At the end of the ravine, dust and lightning surged. Huff! A scorching gale swept up the smoke and dust. The figure of the black-robed old man stood there. His body was filled with a layer of golden light, and the golden light was filled with electric currents. Raising his head, the black-robed old man looked at Yi Chen in the distance. I have to admit that you're the most powerful astral-reaching expert I've ever met. But, if you want to defeat me, it won't be that easy. The reason I was able to sit on the Island Master's seat is not only because of my exploding thunderhammer, but also because of this golden armor on my body, an upper-grade defensive artifact. No one undersea of Soul Realm can break through my defense, and neither can you. A high-grade defensive artifact, the golden armor. The Island Lord actually has two high-grade artifacts, one for offense and one for defense. From the looks of it, this brat is dead for sure. So what if his battle prowess is stronger than the Island Lord's? With the defense of the golden armor, the Island Lord can slowly torture him to death. That's right. A high-grade defensive prized artifact can increase one's defense by 70 to 80%. Compared to the young Yi Chen, everyone was more willing to obey the black-robed elder's management. Perhaps this was a subtle jealousy, and the happiest person was Eminent Elder Sunday, a high-grade defensive artifact, the golden armor. Very well, I'll take it. Yi Chen wasn't too interested in the black-robed elder's explosion thunderhammer. He didn't expect that apart from the explosion thunderhammer, the elder also had a golden armor. Nonsense. With the golden armor on me, I'm innately invincible. You have no hope at all. Thunder Lion 100 Fishin'. The black-robed elder didn't fear Yi Chen's attack at all. His figure rushed out in a straight line, and along the way, the explosion thunderhammer crazily smashed towards Yi Chen. This was the stance of exchanging a life for a life. Of course, the black-robed elder didn't care. Then let me see how hard your tortoise shell is. The ancient longsword above the sea of soul vibrated, and the sky-tearing sword intent surged violently under Vice Island Lord Chui's shocked gaze. Taking a step forward, Yi Chen held the greenwood sword and slashed out. Clang, clang, clang. The sword intent contained in this sword was too strong, causing all the broken objects in the surroundings to be affected by the sword intent, shooting towards the black-robed elder. Even some elders with lower willpower were affected by the sword intent, and the artifacts in their hands shook violently. Dong! The menacing black-robed elder was blasted away, blood leaking out from the corner of his mouth. The frightening sword chi, even through the golden armor's defense, still brought him considerable injuries. Even the upper-grade artifacts seemed to be of no use. Break! Taking the second step, Yi Chen waved the second sword. This sword was even more powerful than the first. Blood flowed from the black-robed elder's 7 apertures, and his hair was scattered. With the third sword, the black-robed elder finally spurted out a mouthful of blood. The black-robed elder roared, his heart filled with fear, "Go! All of you go! Kill him together! Go!" At this very moment, the pressure that Yi Chen brought to the black-robed elder was unbearable. He understood that if this continued, even with the golden armor's protection, he would still be shaken to death. This young man, who seemed to be in his 20s, had shattered his understanding, shattering the undefeatable iron rule of astral-reaching paragons. He was just like Xianhou back then, disregarding the rules, disregarding everything. Any normal theory would no longer be effective against her. However, Yi Chen was another case. Island Master has asked us to act. Should we? Even the Island Master has lost. Would it be effective for us to go up? If we can't kill him, once he returns, we'll all die. Grand Elder's son sucked in a deep breath. Everyone, don't be afraid. His attacks are only a bit powerful. He doesn't have an upper-grade artifact on him. If we attack together, we won't be afraid of not being able to kill him. We have more than 100 people. Killing him will be a piece of cake. Seems reasonable. Kill! Kill! Among the crowd, nearly half of them charged out. The remaining ones either had some apprehensions or planned to observe the situation. There were also some who simply wanted to watch the show and didn't intend to act. Brother Chui. Sub-Island Master Wang looked at Sub-Island Master Chui. Sub-Island Master Chui indifferently said, "If you want to act, then do it. I won't act." I won't either." With Grand Elder's son in the lead, dozens of people brandished their weapons and attacked Yi Chen from all directions. A chaotic and frightening aura converged together, shaking the surrounding 100 li. Yi Chen sneered. Before his sword intent had progressed, he might have been apprehensive of being surrounded. But now, as long as he didn't want to, nobody could surround him. Shu, who said that sword intent could only increase one's attacking power. Yi Chen's entire body was filled with sword intent as his speed surpassed his previous limits. With a flicker, he had left the encirclement. Green lotus chi, floating corpses everywhere. The greenwood sword streaked in front of him, shattering the huge green lotus. Dense sword chi spread out in a fan shape, covering all the Grand Elders and Elders of Bewilderment Fog Island. Shoo 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 shoo. The sword chi containing the frightening sword intent was unstoppable. Wherever it swept through, people would fall down. Protective Zhen Yuan, mid-grade artifacts, all of them were like floating clouds. One blink, only one blink, more than half of the dozens of people who had charged up were gone. The remaining ones were all wounded and had frightened expressions. Yi Chen didn't give them any time to regret. He used the most tyrannical move of the Green Lotus sword art, Green Lotus Mountain Splitter. The sky-high sword light swept across the sky, throwing away the corpses. Run. The survivors regretted so much that their intestines turned green. Who the hell said that killing him would be easy? This kid was definitely a freak. Group attacks were ineffective. Unless a large number of extreme astral-reaching experts surrounded him and attacked him together, no matter how many people came, they would all be vegetables. Sub-Island Master Wang, save me! One person charged toward Sub-Island Master Wang and Sub-Island Master Chui, hoping to obtain their protection. Sub-Island Master Wang shook his head and dodged. Sub-Island Master Chui was even more straightforward. With a wave of his blade, a figure was cut in half. Seeing this, the Grand Elders and Elders who didn't participate in the battle sucked in a breath of cold air. Even the two Sub-Island Masters had rebelled. Fortunately, they weren't hot-headed. You two actually dared to betray me. The black-robed old man didn't expect Sub-Island Master Chui to be so ruthless and directly kill the person who had begged for help. Sub-Island Master Chui coldly said, "When did I pledge allegiance to you? You've been the island master for so many years. It's time for you to step down." "Good, very good. You'd better remember this. The day I return, none of you will live." After saying these words, the black-robed old man wanted to escape. Swoosh! Sub-Island Master Chui blocked the black-robed old man's path and said to Sub-Island Master Wang, "Don't let him escape. You know the consequences." Sub-Island Master Wang sighed. His figure flashed and blocked the black-robed old man's path. "You better stay." The black-robed old man's face turned green and his body trembled. How could this be? Grand Elder's son didn't expect the situation to turn out like this. He glanced at Yi Chen with a venomous look. All of this was because of him. Stealthily, Grand Elder's son flew into the distance. Yi Chen sneered. He extended his left index finger and pointed at the air. A green lotus sword chi shot out from his finger and instantly pierced through Grand Elder Son's forehead. In a short time, everyone who participated in the battle was killed. The only one left was the island master, the black-robed old man. The black-robed old man fought fiercely with Sub-Island Master Wang and Sub-Island Master Chui. The three's battle power was equal, and the black-robed old man's defense was much stronger than the other two. For a moment, no one could do anything to the other. Green Lotus Sky reaching. A beam of sword light shattered the black-robed old man's defense, and the sword chi tore off one of his arms. The attacker was indeed Yi Chen. Up until now, he still hadn't used all of his power. He felt that there was no need to reveal all of it, since it would be too shocking. Even so, the fact that Yi Chen could break through the black-robed old man's defense still made Sub-Island Master Wang and Sub-Island Master Chui sigh in admiration. The power of an upper-grade defensive artifact was something they knew very well. Previously, they had also battled with the black-robed old man. Boom boom boom! Taking advantage of this opportunity, the two Sub-Island Masters attacked even more fiercely, causing the black-robed old man to continuously puke blood. Swoosh! After the sword light passed, a fist-sized green lotus rapidly enlarged in front of the black-robed old man. His originally chaotic protective Zhen Yuan only lasted for a moment before it shattered with a swoosh, and a bloody hole appeared on his forehead. Blood splashed out, dyeing the black-robed old man red. "You won't have a good ending. The reverse 9-turn spirit grass is not something you can keep." The last sentence contained all of the black-robed old man's Zhen Yuan, which spread out in all directions. Chuckling, the black-robed old man fell on his back. Chapter 376. Yi Chen's face turned gloomy. Just now, when the black-robed old man roared, the number of people on Bewilderment Fog Island must have been at least 800,000, if not 1,000,000. He was sure that the black-robed old man didn't dare to confirm that he had the 9-turn spirit grass. At most, he would be suspicious. However, his goal was precisely to make everyone suspicious. At that time, regardless of whether he had it or not, it would be hard for him to clear his name. Even in death, this old man wouldn't let him have an easy time. Yi Chen didn't need to look to feel the strange gazes coming from all directions, including the two deputy island masters who had just joined hands with him. Grand Elder Yi, no, Brother Yi, do you really have the 9-turn spirit grass? Deputy Island Master Wang asked. Yi Chen shot a glance at him. This Deputy Island Master Wang had given him a good impression. Unfortunately, as long as one was a martial artist, there was no one who didn't want to become powerful. He said indifferently, "If I said I do or don't, would you believe me?" Deputy Island Master Wang paused. Indeed, it wasn't important whether he had it or not. What was important was whether others believed him or not. Those who believed him would naturally think he had it, and those who didn't would naturally think he didn't. Unless Yi Chen had some way to prove that he didn't have it, or directly took out the 9-turn spirit grass, and said he had it. Whether you have it or not has nothing to do with us. Deputy Island Master Chui retracted his gaze. He was very clear that even if he had it, it wouldn't be their turn. I have no interest in the position of Island Master. If any of you are interested, then go ahead. Yi Chen peeled off the shining golden armor from the black-robed old man's body and took off his storage ring, then said to the two without turning his head. Deputy Island Master Wang could also see that Yi Chen had no interest in the position of Island Master. After all, who didn't know that he was the #1 expert of Bewilderment Fog Island? It didn't matter whether he became the Island Master or not. As for why he wanted to become a Grand Elder, it should be because he was afraid of trouble. Brother Chui, you and I are both Island Masters. How about it? I have no objection. Night arrived, and dense fog shrouded Bewilderment Fog Island. Inside the spacious room, a golden light pervaded the air. The light came from the golden armor in Yi Chen's hand. Golden armor, a metal attributed high-rank defensive treasure. Its value is immeasurable. A good defensive artifact was much more valuable than an attacking one. In the true spirit continent, life was the most important. Without life, everything would be meaningless. But it was also because of this that top-rank defensive artifacts were very troublesome. Astral-reaching realm warriors would not be able to keep them. Only Sea of Souls realm warriors would have the power to do so, and not every Sea of Souls realm warrior would have a top-rank defensive artifact. For a top-rank defensive artifact, it would be unavoidable for them to kill each other. Fortunately, outside of the bewildering fog forbidden zone, no one knew that Yi Chen had an upper-rank defensive treasure, the gold armor. Once he got out, it would save him a lot of trouble, and in a critical moment, the gold armor could be a life-saving item. In a life-and-death situation, who would care about the consequences of exposing an upper-rank defensive treasure? Break. The green lotus true essence poured into the golden armor. Not only did it expel the remaining true essence of the black-robed old man, but it also completely annihilated his aura. However, after putting it on, Yi Chen still felt a bit uncomfortable. Scanning the gold armor with his soul power, Yi Chen soon discovered a problem. This gold armor had the black-robed old man's spiritual imprint, and it was precisely because of this that he found it difficult to use. Removing the spiritual imprint was too easy for Yi Chen. His sword will entered and cleanly erased the spiritual imprint. So, an upper-rank artifact still needs to have its own spiritual imprint. Only by doing so can the pressure of the artifact be restrained. Referring to the black-robed old man's spiritual imprint, Yi Chen imprinted his own spiritual imprint. Under the control of his mind, the gold armor's radiance gradually retracted, no longer emitting a trace of fluctuation. Wearing it under his clothes, no one would be able to tell that it was an upper-rank artifact. Ignoring the other upper-rank artifact, the Thunder Hammer, Yi Chen's attention fell on the black-robed old man's storage ring. Inside the storage ring, 500,000 mid-grade spirit stones. 5 million low-grade spirit stones. Apart from that, there were hundreds of upper-rank spirit stones. The top-rank spirit stones contained extremely pure yuan qi, so pure that one didn't need to refine it and could directly absorb it. Of course, this was only for astral-reaching realm warriors. Once one reached the Sea of Souls realm, the Zhen Yuan would no longer be as simple as being pure. Hundreds of upper-rank spirit stones should be enough for my cultivation base to improve. But, if I want to accumulate enough to reach the peak of late astral reaching realm, this is still not enough. Besides the spirit stones, there were also a lot of martial arts manuals in the storage ring. There were 4 high-rank Earth Realm manuals, dozens of mid-rank Earth Realm manuals, and a top-rank Earth Realm Hammer Art manual called Thunder Beast Transformation. Thunder Beast Transformation only had 4 transformations, which was very little compared to the 9 movements of the Green Lotus Sword art. Each transformation could condense a beast shape. The first transformation was a bear, the second was a leopard, the third was a lion, and the fourth was a bird. Obviously, the black-robed old man had only trained to the third transformation, Thunder Lion Transformation. Although it is a hammer art, it contains the thunder mentality, which is quite useful for me to comprehend the thunder mentality. The night was deep and the world was quiet. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. At this moment, the entire Bewilderment Fog Island was discussing Yi Chun and the 9-turn spirit grass. In a restaurant, a few astral-reaching experts gathered together and discussed in low voices. Did you hear? Island Master was killed by the newly appointed Grand Elder. Before dying, Island Master said that Yi Chun had the 9-turn spirit grass. 9-turn spirit grass? Hearing these words, one of them cried out. Right, it's the 9-turn spirit grass that can increase one's lifespan by 9 years and strengthen one's soul. I don't need to tell you the importance of the soul. Of course, the soul is the carrier of the will. The stronger the soul, the easier it will be to advance to the Sea of Souls realm. Soon, the news of Yi Chun possessing the 9-turn spirit grass spread throughout the entire island. There was almost no one who didn't know. Walking on the street, Yi Chun listened to the voices transmitted through his soul power and inwardly shook his head. There were too many people who knew, and it was impossible to control them. Forget it, let it spread. Bewilderment Fog Island was isolated from the rest of the world. As long as one's luck wasn't too bad, the chances of this news reaching the outside world was close to 0. Otherwise, the Island Master wouldn't have brought along 2 upper-grade artifacts and planned to stay here, waiting for the opportunity to break through to the Sea of Souls realm. It's time to leave Bewilderment Fog Forbidden Zone. Raising his head, Yi Chun's gaze pierced through the city, falling on the extremely distant dense fog region. At this moment, Yi Chun could finally confirm that the key to leaving Bewilderment Fog Forbidden Zone was will. Indeed, will. The stronger the will, the harder it was to be affected by Bewilderment Fog Forbidden Zone. Those with weak will, no matter what method they used, could only circle around inside. The problem was that Yi Chun didn't know whether his will was strong enough or not. It should be known that Bewilderment Fog Forbidden Zone was a place that even Sea of Souls realm experts wouldn't be willing to enter. His current will was equivalent to an ordinary Sea of Souls realm sword artist. Sword artists always had firm wills, and were a bit stronger than ordinary Sea of Souls realm martial artists. Moreover, his soul was what he relied on. He was sure that the majority of Sea of Souls realm experts couldn't be stronger than him in terms of soul. This was his advantage. Powerful soul, powerful will. There should be some hope. Chapter 377. The next day, Yi Chun didn't inform anyone and entered the dense fog alone. Amidst the thick fog, Yi Chun floated in the air with the perceptive ball in his left hand. The perceptive ball is shining with an orange light. I should be almost 800 li away from Bewilderment Fog Island, and 1,000 li away from the large perceptive tower. If Bewilderment Fog Island happens to be in the center of Bewilderment Fog Forbidden Zone, then I'm about half of 30,000 li away from the edge. Subtracting 1,000 li from that, it would be 14,000 li, 14,000 li. My soul power can only radiate 47 li in the fog. In other words, I'll have to use my soul power 300 times. If there's a huge deviation in any one of them, all my efforts would be wasted. However, traveling 47 li in one go is countless times more effective than traveling 14,000 li without a plan. With the strength of my will, the influence won't be too great, and the deviation can be controlled to a small extent. However, traveling 14,000 li is something that the majority of Sea of Soul Realm experts wouldn't be able to endure, and would get lost midway. Let's begin. Putting away the perceptive ball, Yi Chen closed his eyes and a powerful soul power radiated out from his forehead, traveling along the fog until 47 li away. Without opening his eyes, Yi Chen's Zhen Yuan erupted as he flew at an extreme speed. After 20 breaths, here. Following the same pattern, Yi Chen's soul power radiated another 47 li away, making it the second destination in a straight line. Third destination. 10th destination. Third destination. The edge of Bewilderment Fog Forbidden Zone still seems very far away. Perhaps it's more than 14,000 li from the starting point to the edge. After all, the entire Bewilderment Fog Forbidden Zone has an irregular shape. Some places are longer, while others are shorter. Let's persevere for a while more. 320th destination, 400 destination, 500 destination, damn, wrong. 500 times of positioning, 47 li for each. 500 times would be 23,500 li. If there were no deviation, I would have left long ago. Although Yi Chen had already prepared himself for failure, the cruelty of Bewilderment Fog Forbidden Zone still made him smile bitterly. I wonder where I am in the Bewilderment Fog Forbidden Zone now. One wrong step really leads to all the wrong step. There was no time to be depressed. 500 moves did not take much time, adding up to only 3.5 hours. Yi Chen planned to continue flying in a straight line, because no matter how long the distance was, as long as it was a straight line, there would be a chance to get out. He did not believe that he would not be lucky even once. The large water leak told Yi Chen that a month had passed. In the past month, he had used his soul power to locate the target 180,000 times. Every day, out of the 24 hours, 20 hours were spent flying. Of the remaining 4 hours, 2 hours were spent absorbing the energy from the top-rank spirit stones, and 2 hours were spent resting. During this period, he coincidentally returned to Bewilderment Fog Island 11 times. What was certain was that the closer one was to Bewilderment Fog Island, the less affected one was. The closer one was to the edge of Bewilderment Fog Forbidden Zone, the more affected one was. Being able to return to Bewilderment Fog Island 11 times was a good proof. Thinking about it, even Sea of Soul Realm experts have to rely on luck to get out. If they are lucky, they can get out in a short time. If they are unlucky, it would not be an exaggeration to say that they would be stuck inside for 3 to 5 years. However, as long as you persevere, luck will come to you. Swish. Yi Chen's figure pierced through the dense fog. Another month passed. Bang. Earthen yellow fist shadows burst forth, raising huge waves on the lake's surface. Damn it. It's been 2 months. Could it be that my method was wrong from the start? Relying on will alone is impossible to get out? Perhaps my will is not enough. For astral-reaching experts, 2 months was nothing more than a single session of seclusion, which could pass in the blink of an eye. However, it was different now. During this period, Yi Chen had been flying again and again, calculating again and again, repeating the same boring behavior. If there was a time limit, Yi Chen wouldn't be so upset and sullen. The crucial point was that he didn't know how long he would have to endure such days. The sullen feeling in his heart finally erupted, and it was a huge one at that. Bang, 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 bang. The lake's surface of dozens of li was riddled with holes, raising huge waves that reached thousands of meters high. Many demonic beasts were shaken to death at the bottom of the lake. After venting his anger, Yi Chen gasped for breath. No, I don't even believe in myself anymore. What sword Dao is there to cultivate? The further I go, the more difficult it gets. It seems like my strength is there, but my mental state is not there yet. Usually, I think I'm very calm, unfazed even if the sky collapses. But, when it comes to a true test of will, I'm actually no good. Oh well, this time I'm not only looking for a way out, but also tempering my mental state. Yi Chen's terror lay in his ability to reflect in time. If it were an ordinary person, they would only be tangled in the problem of leaving the forbidden zone. However, Yi Chen could jump out and find his own problem. Buzz. A spacious wooden board flew out of the storage ring and landed on the lake. Yi Chen sat cross-legged on the board and calmed his mind. Any tribulation is a test for me. Any setback will allow me to reach a higher level. Any obstacle will be an opportunity for me to improve. Turning all favorable and unfavorable things into my own. This is my will, my spirit, my sword Dao. In the dense fog, the young man started his first mental state transformation. Of course, the transformation had just begun. Whether he could break through or not, he could only rely on himself. The 3rd month, failure. The 4th month, failure. The 5th month was about to begin. During this period of time, Yi Chen had been dispirited, lacking in confidence, persevering, comprehending, and reflecting. Every time he pulled himself together, Yi Chen felt like his spirit had gone through a baptism and a tempering. His sword Dao will had become sharper and indestructible. The 5th month. The 7th day Yi Chen continued to fly, his eyes resolute. Feng Yanro, you've been chasing me for 3 months, and you still haven't given up? Above the boundless lake, 2 figures were 7 to 8 li apart, one in front and one behind. The one speaking was the middle-aged man in front. He was tall and thin, wearing a long robe. As he flew, his whole body seemed to have turned into the wind. Under the wind's escort, his speed was as fast as a ghost. The one chasing him was a young woman in her 20s, wearing a snow-white dress with a long sword at her waist. Her fine black hair was like a waterfall, and her eyes were like stars. Her ice-cold expression carried a kind of breathtaking beauty. What was especially eye-catching was the snowflake pattern on her forehead, appearing exceptionally holy and gorgeous. She said with a clear voice, "Gao Qianhe, the matter of you killing my junior sister won't end like this. Even if I have to spend a year, I'll kill you with my own hands." "Humph. Chase me then. Although my strength is not as high as yours, in terms of agility technique, no one in the astral reaching realm can compare to me." The young woman called Feng Yanro creased her brows. The opposite party was right. Although her agility technique was exceptional, this Gao Qianhe's agility technique was even more frightening. His comprehension was also not to be underestimated, as he had actually comprehended wind mentality and soft mentality to the extreme. With the two mentalities superimposed together, his speed had already reached an unimaginable level. If not for her vigorous Zhen Yuan and a secret skill that could increase her speed, she would have long since been left behind. Even so, he had still escaped several times in these 2 months. Fortunately, she was quite well versed in the art of tracking, and caught up again. Indeed, if nothing unexpected happens, I will never be able to catch up to you. However, I can endure this kind of life. Can you endure being chased for a long time? Gao Qianhe was furious. After being chased for 3 months, Gao Qianhe had long since been exhausted. Not only was his body exhausted, but his spirit was also the most painful. As he thought up to this point, he regretted not killing his junior sister at the beginning. As for this matter, it had to start from 3 months ago. Gao Qianhe cultivated a rather evil martial art, and his desires were extremely great. One day, he encountered Feng Yenro's junior sister in a remote area. His heart filled with evil intentions, and after injuring her, he wanted to have sex with her. But how could he have known that the other party had used some unknown secret technique to contact Feng Yenro, and had ambushed him at the most unexpected time? Gao Qianhe tangled with her for a while, and in the end killed her out of anger. However, just as he killed her, Feng Yenro arrived. Feng Yenro was only 22 or 23 years old, but her martial arts were extremely high. It was said that among the young generation of Misty Snow region, she was at least in the top 5. As for which of the top 5, nobody knew. After dozens of moves, Gao Qianhe was no match for Feng Yenro, and fled in defeat. What followed was a chase that lasted for 3 months. Flying snow connecting the sky. From 7 to 8 li away, Feng Yenro pulled out the longsword at her waist and slashed in the air. An ice-cold sword chi swirled up a sky-filling snowflakes as it chopped toward Gao Qianhe. The sword intent contained within made Gao Qianhe's scalp go numb, and his speed unknowingly increased. Gotcha! The sword chi didn't manage to hit Gao Qianhe, but the lake water below him froze. A nearly 300 zhang long sword scar was imprinted on the layer of ice, looking very ghastly. Damn it, this girl's sword Dao cultivation is too frightening. I'm absolutely not her opponent. I'm afraid that in the entire Misty Snow region, there won't be an astral-reaching realm sword artist more powerful than her. Gao Qianhe inwardly rejoiced, and subconsciously looked into the distance. That's the fog area. I might have a chance to escape. Dozens of li away, the thick fog covered the sky and covered the sun. It was hard to tell how wide it was and how high it was. It was the perfect place to escape. Not good. There's actually a fog area above the Star Regional Lake. Feng Yenro's brows creased. 30 li 20 li. When Gao Qianhe was only 20 li away from the fog, a long roar came from within, and a blue silhouette rushed out. It was a youngster. Finally out. Yi Chen raised his head to look at the sky. The warm sunlight sprinkled on his body, making him feel exceptionally gentle. On the 7th day of the 5th month, Yi Chen broke the iron rule of the Forbidden Zone, and smoothly walked out with an astral-reaching realm cultivation base. If this were to spread out, who knew what consequences it would bring? However, none of this was important. What was important was that he had finally left that damned place. As he thought of this, Yi Chen couldn't help but rejoice at his perseverance. Without the perseverance of the previous 4 months, the possibility of him walking out would be close to 0. He reckoned that those Sea of Soul realm experts who had fallen into the Forbidden Zone might not have been able to persevere for too long. After all, Sea of Soul realm experts surpassed Yi Chen in terms of speed, and had certain advantages. Is this person being chased? Quite fast. Feng Yenro and Gao Qianhe's pursuit was too eye-catching. It would be hard for Yi Chen not to notice it. Please help me stop him, please. From far away, Feng Yenro circulated her Zhen Yuan, and her voice was transmitted to Yi Chen at a frightening speed. Actually, she didn't think Yi Chen could stop Gao Qianhe, but he only needed 2 breaths of time. 2 breaths of time, and she would be able to catch up with all her strength. At that time, she would be well prepared, and she would absolutely not let Gao Qianhe escape. Bewilderment Fog Forbidden Zone only allows one to enter, but not leave. Since this person has entered, it's almost impossible to track him. Help her stop him. In any case, it won't take much effort. According to his soul power, Yi Chen roughly estimated that Gao Qianhe was an extreme astral-reaching expert, and so was Feng Yenro. However, the latter was much stronger, and should be one of the top existences among extreme astral-reaching experts. Of course, it didn't mean much to him. A brat wants to stop me? Dream on. Shadow shift godly art. Gao Qianhe's body suddenly paused, and an astonishing scene occurred. Behind Yi Chen, another Gao Qianhe appeared. 2 Gao Qianhe appeared in front and behind of Yi Chen, making it impossible to tell which one was real and which one was fake. Even Yi Chen was instantly mesmerized. Seeing this, Feng Yenro could only smile bitterly. Asking him to stop Gao Qianhe, whose movement technique was exceptional, was indeed too difficult. She couldn't blame him. Chapter 378. Is that so? Not necessarily. Since he had decided to help Feng Yenro block Gao Qianhe, Yi Chen wouldn't give up halfway. Gao Qianhe's movement technique was indeed exceptional. Yi Chen had never seen a second person in the astral reaching realm with such accomplishment. However, the ultimate goal of movement techniques was nothing more than speed. Yi Chen had the fast mentality and the sword intent of a Sea of Soul realm sword artist. His speed had already reached an unimaginable level. With a flicker, he tore through the air. Swish! A beam of blue light shot out as Yi Chen arrived in front of Gao Qianhe's true body. How is this possible? Gao Qianhe was greatly astonished. His shadow shift technique was a top-rank Earth realm movement technique. Under his full speed, any encirclement would be rendered useless. Feng Yenro had failed to kill him several times precisely because of this technique. Moreover, ordinary people would only be distracted by his fake body, which would waste a lot of time. However, not only did Yi Chen react immediately, he even arrived first with a frightening speed. How could he not be astonished? Feng Yenro was similarly astonished. Originally, she didn't expect Yi Chen to be able to block Gao Qianhe. Who would have thought that Yi Chen would have such a supreme skill? Let's see how you're going to block me. Not wanting to tangle with Yi Chen, Gao Qianhe once again used the shadow shift technique. The void was filled with illusions, and his true body rapidly turned into a fake body. Trying to accurately identify him was extremely difficult. Yi Chen faintly smiled. Within the range of his soul power, Gao Qianhe's true body had nowhere to hide. His every movement trajectory was crystal clear. Just like the first time, Yi Chen appeared in front of Gao Qianhe once again, long sword already hanging on his waist. Courting death. Missed rope blade. Gao Qianhe flew into a rage out of humiliation, containing a trace of fear. In terms of movement technique, he had completely lost. But so what? As long as he killed the other, all his problems would be easily solved. With a wave of his right hand, a rope-like Zhen Yuan blade coiled out. Everything within several hundred meters was within its range. Green lotus seizing beauty. The longsword blocked, and a huge green lotus wrapped around Yi Chen. Clang 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 clang. The rope blade cut the green lotus thousands of times, but the defense of the green lotus was far beyond Gao Qianhe's imagination. Apart from leaving some marks on its surface, he didn't gain anything. Damn it, why is this kid so troublesome? No matter how stupid Gao Qianhe was, he knew that Yi Chen was no ordinary person. It was practically impossible to deal with him in a short time. Little brother, there is no enmity between us. Why must you make things difficult for me? Let me go and I will definitely repay you in the future. Since the hard approach didn't work, he resorted to the soft approach. Of course, Gao Qianhe didn't really intend to repay Yi Chen generously. Once he got out of this predicament, he wanted Yi Chen to die without a burial. Yi Chen said, I still don't know the cause of this matter. How about this? Don't run away. Let's have a good talk here. We'll know who's in the right and who's in the wrong. I guarantee that if you're not in the wrong, I'll keep you alive. Arrogant. Who do you think you are? Die. Gao Qianhe knew that he was in the wrong, so how could he give up on running away? A strange long whip had appeared in his right hand. This whip was different from the others, with many whips extending from its handle. They looked like the tentacles of an octopus as they lashed at Yi Chen. Crack crack crack. Countless whips tore through the void, forming a dense black mass. Green lotus sky. To deal with such a large area of effect attack, one had to use the green lotus sky sword move. The air in front of him was frozen, and the speed of the whips suddenly decreased as if they were stuck in a swamp. Yi Chen didn't counterattack, but waited for Feng Yenro to arrive. Gao Qianhe was on the verge of tears. Motherfucker! If not for the powerful pursuer behind me, I would have skinned you alive even if I had to risk my life. So, knowing that he couldn't do anything to Yi Chen, Gao Qianhe lashed out with his whip. Without waiting for the attack to land, he quickly retreated and fled diagonally. The two had exchanged blows for less than 2 breaths of time. For ordinary people, it was a short time, but for an expert of Feng Yenro's level, it was more than enough. Gao Qianhe, let's see where you can run now. A white frost-like sword chi streaked across the sky, brushing past Gao Qianhe's protective Zhen Yuan. Gotcha! His protective Zhen Yuan froze, and Gao Qianhe's eyes were spitting fire as he took a step back. Feng Yenro had caught up to him, and the distance between them was less than 100 meters. Feng Yenro, do you really think that you can kill me so easily? Gao Qianhe gave up on escaping, and his eyes were filled with hostility. Feng Yenro tenderly scolded, whether or not I can kill you is my problem. Now, don't even think about escaping. I would like to see how powerful the most frightening young sword artist of Misty Snow region in 100 years is. If you want to kill me, Gao Qianhe, you have to pay a price. Previously, he had fled because Feng Yenro was too strong, and he was no match for her. However, part of the reason was that he didn't want to fight to the point where both sides would suffer. He knew that if he were to fight to the death, his ending wouldn't be too good. Flying snow sky. Without another word, Feng Yenro raised her longsword, and the air was torn apart. A bone-chilling sword chi swirled up a sky-filling snowflakes and swept toward Gao Qianhe. Roar. Chaotic mist blade. The wind mentality and the soft mentality complemented each other, allowing Gao Qianhe's whip arts to contain the speed and cutting power of wind, as well as the ingenuity of being soft and unyielding. Dozens of long whips were thrown out like a blooming flower, each of them capable of instantly killing a peak astral-reaching expert. Ding ding dang dang. Feng Yenro's sword chi was exceptionally cold and indestructible, turning the area around Gao Qianhe into a world of ice and frost, restricting his speed. Gao Qianhe's long whips also caused the air around Feng Yenro to become chaotic. From time to time, a long whip would be stretched taut, piercing toward Feng Yenro's protective Zhen Yuan. Flicking away the long whip, Feng Yenro stepped on an ice flower, looking like an ice fairy from the heavenly palace. Her sword contained a peerless sword intent as it pierced out. Puff! A straight crack appeared in the void, and in the next moment, a sword hole appeared on Gao Qianhe's shoulder. The blood spurting out was instantly sealed in ice. What a sharp sword Dao! The coldness contains killing intent. It seems to be leaning towards the slaughter sword Dao, but is also somewhat different from it. After undergoing the trial of the dual sword kings will statue in the bewilderment fog forbidden zone, Yi Chen's sword Dao knowledge was immeasurably rich. With a single glance, he could tell that Feng Yenro's sword Dao cultivation base was not simple. He didn't expect to encounter such a powerful sword Dao genius as soon as he left South Rudra region. South Rudra region is one of the smallest regions of true spirit continent, while Misty Snow region is one of the largest. There is indeed a big gap between them. With her current accomplishments, apart from myself, no one in the young generation of South Rudra region can compare to her. I wonder what her rank is in the Misty Snow region's young generation. With this thought in mind, Yi Chen couldn't help but send a Zhen Yuan transmission to Feng Yenro. Miss, I wonder what kind of grievances there are between you two. Feng Yenro was very grateful to Yi Chen. If not for Yi Chen, she wouldn't have been able to catch up to Gao Qianhe no matter what. Dividing her attention, she sent a transmission to Yi Chen while suppressing Gao Qianhe. This person is an extremely vicious and cruel evil sect member in Misty Snow region. He killed my junior sister for no reason, and even tried to do bad things to her. Feng Yenro narrated everything to Yi Chen. So that's how it is. Yi Chen faintly nodded. He had done the right thing this time, not letting Gao Qianhe leave. Actually, during the exchange, he could tell that Gao Qianhe was not a righteous person. His attacks were vicious, and he wanted to kill him without saying a word. A righteous person with principles wouldn't do such a thing. With his soul power locked onto Gao Qianhe's every movement, Yi Chen was afraid that Gao Qianhe would escape again, although the possibility was very small. Beehive Mist Blade. With so many sword wounds on his body, Gao Qianhe's physical strength was gradually depleting, and he was no longer Feng Yanrou's opponent. With an angry roar, he shook his long whip. At the tip of the whip, thumb-sized pieces of it separated and shot out like a swarm of bees. Humph! This mid-grade prized weapon of mine is different from ordinary mid-grade prized weapons. At critical moments, the tip of the whip will automatically detach and become part of the attack. Even experts stronger than me would be injured. This is my life-saving killer move. Gao Qianhe sneered. Feng Yanrou's expression didn't change. Her left hand formed a sword art, and her protective Jin Yuan collapsed. Ice Snow Sword Domain. Xing 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 xing. A white light cover expanded, protecting Feng Yanrou in the center. The white light cover was always in a circulating state. If one observed carefully, they would be able to see that within the circulating white light, countless sword lights were connected from head to tail, creating layers and layers of defense. Countless sharp whip tips shot at the barrier, but were immediately bounced off. Not good. She has actually studied the Snow Sword Master's ultimate profound. Gao Qianhe was greatly shocked. He no longer had the determination to fight with his life on the line. The Snow Sword Master was a powerful Sea of Soul Realm expert. The ultimate profound she had learned was not something he could break. Although Feng Yanrou had only learned a little bit of it, it was enough to frighten others. What kind of move is this? It is still within the scope of mentalities, but it has long surpassed the usage of mentalities. It even contains the profound sword Dao mentalities. Yi Chen rubbed his chin and couldn't help but think of the void-shattering finger he had obtained in the Goat-Head Mountain. This void-shattering finger had surpassed the scope of mentalities. In terms of usage, it was at the same level as Feng Yanrou's ultimate move, perhaps even a bit higher. In these years, Yi Chen had also studied the void-shattering finger, but he could only use it in a more ingenious way. It was hard to comprehend its true meaning. Moreover, the profoundness of the transcending mentalities was something Yi Chen had never seen before. Sword Domain Cut. Waving her sword, Feng Yanrou drew out the sword light from the white light barrier and slashed at Gao Qianhe. Crack! Without any suspense, one of Gao Qianhe's arms was torn off, and even his shoulder was almost cleaved apart. His mid-grade defensive artifact was covered in a layer of ice, emitting a cold chi. Kid, if I die, you'll be my scapegoat. At this moment, Gao Qianhe hated Yi Chen the most. Without Yi Chen, Feng Yanrou wouldn't have caught up to him. If she hadn't caught up, he wouldn't have fallen into a situation of certain death. Moreover, with his remaining battle power, it was absolutely impossible for him to injure Feng Yanrou. Therefore, he set his sights on Yi Chen, wanting him to die with him. This was the consequence of offending Gao Qianhe. Bang! Countless spatial cracks spread out as Gao Qianhe fearlessly dove toward Yi Chen, exchanging his life for his own. He didn't have the slightest bit of defense. Careful! Feng Yanrou hastily warned Yi Chen. The latter's movement technique was indeed exceptional, but his battle power shouldn't be that high. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to defend with all his might under Gao Qianhe's attacks without any power to resist. Feng Yanrou, who was grateful to Yi Chen, didn't wish for Yi Chen to die in front of her. The instant she warned Yi Chen, she raised her speed to the limit and slashed out with her sword. Shadow Shift. The sword chi missed, and Gao Qianhe risked his life, pushing his Shadow Shift divine art to an unprecedented peak. Yi Chen floated motionlessly at his original position, a sneer flashing at the corner of his mouth. However, in Gao Qianhe's eyes, it seemed like a bitter smile, which made him feel even more delighted. Chapter 379. If you didn't stop me, you wouldn't have died. This is retribution. Now let's all die together. Extreme Chaos Mist Blade, explode. Gao Qianhe, who was determined to die, detonated his Zhen Yuan, destroying his meridians and dislocating his internal organs. All of this made his attack even more powerful than when he was fighting with Feng Yanro. Dozens of whip shadows exploded crazily, riddling the void with thousands of holes. Sorry. Feng Yanro's face was full of guilt. If Yi Chun died, she would have to bear the biggest responsibility. Unsheathing his destruction sword, Yi Chun said with an indifferent tone, Miss Feng, it shouldn't be a problem for me to kill him, right? Yi Chen's voice was transmitted almost instantaneously. At this moment, the closest whip shadow was less than a foot away from Yi Chen. It was a matter of life and death. His tone made Feng Yanro and Gao Qianhe dazed for a moment. What was he thinking? At this moment, Feng Yanro didn't have time to answer. However, Yi Chen took it as her silence. Puff! The shadow was pierced through. Feng Yanro was about to cry out in alarm when she discovered that it was only an afterimage. Soon, more afterimages exploded like a flood, pouring down on Gao Qianhe. The afterimages shattered one after another, but she still couldn't see Yi Chen's real body. Suddenly, a sword light flickered in the void. The blue-robed Yi Chen appeared in front of Gao Qianhe at an unknown time. The destruction sword in his hand trembled and pierced out. Shoo! The sword tip pierced through Gao Qianhe's protective Zhen Yuan and pierced through his throat, coming out from the back of his neck. A strand of blood flew in the air. An extreme astral-reaching expert had died under Yi Chen's sword. However, this sword was just an ordinary one. There were no tricks or mysteries. If one had to describe it, it would be that it was extremely fast. It was so fast that Gao Qianhe had no time to block or react. When the sword arrived, he died. As the sword was pulled out, blood splashed out. Gao Qianhe pointed his finger at Yi Chen, his eyes wide open. He seemed to want to say something, but because his throat was damaged, he couldn't say anything. Even at the moment of death, he didn't know what had happened. A sword artist who was only a bit troublesome in his eyes had killed him with one sword. Only at the moment of the sword attack did he realize how sharp it was. Maintaining the posture of death, Gao Qianhe fell on his back. What? Feng Yanro finally blurted out the words that had been brewing in her throat. However, the words that came out were not the words that she wanted to say. It was too shocking. Just like Gao Qianhe, she believed that Yi Chen was a slightly more powerful sword artist, roughly at the level of peak astral-reaching expert. He would be able to exchange a couple of attacks with extreme astral-reaching experts, but he would definitely not be able to block an all-out attack from an extreme astral-reaching expert. After all, extreme astral-reaching experts were already the limit of astral-reaching experts. If one wanted to surpass this limit, one would have to reach the Sea of Soul Realm or have an upper-grade artifact. However, reaching the Sea of Soul Realm was easier said than done. Her talent and comprehension were definitely at the top of the Misty Snow region. However, the sect leader had also said that she would not have the slightest chance of reaching the Sea of Soul Realm within 5 years. No matter how many miracles she had, no matter what kind of enlightenment she had, she would not be able to reach the Sea of Soul Realm within 5 years. Not everyone could become an existence like Xianhou. Otherwise, she would not have been the scariest genius of the true spirit continent in the past 1,000 years. However, an upper-grade artifact was not that easy to obtain. Apart from the rank 6 sects, there were very few of them circulating in the outside world. Moreover, they were mostly in some unknown ancient ruins, which were extremely dangerous. Even Sea of Soul Realm experts would face life-threatening dangers if they entered, not to mention astral-reaching experts. Plus, even if one had an upper-grade artifact, it would be hard to keep it. Everyone understood the concept of possessing a treasure will arouse the suspicion of others. Sea of Soul Realm experts would not mind killing an astral-reaching expert and taking his upper-grade artifact. Therefore, those who had an upper-grade artifact would either be a Sea of Soul Realm expert or be extremely well hidden, not daring to reveal it. Even Feng Yenro herself did not have an upper-grade artifact. It was not that her sect did not want to give it to her, but that they did not want to bring her danger. Rank 6 sects were not enough to scare some lone Sea of Soul Realm experts. Not to mention a disciple of a rank 6 sect. Even if you were a child of a rank 6 sect leader, they would still dare to kill you for your treasures. If an extreme astral reaching expert had an upper-grade artifact, then he would be an invincible astral reaching expert, which was publicly acknowledged by the entire true spirit continent. Unfortunately, invincible astral reaching experts were even rarer than life and death kings. No, they were not even half of the life and death kings. Moreover, they were all unknown, hidden in the deepest corners of the continent. Only when faced with life and death situations would they be exposed. Only then did the world know that he was an extreme astral-reaching expert with an upper-grade artifact. Without a doubt, Gao Qianhe was an extreme astral-reaching expert. Although he was just an ordinary person, under his last desperate attack, even the powerful extreme astral-reaching experts would have to retreat 3 feet. Yi Chen's previous performance was not that amazing, only his movement art was outstanding. However, when Yi Chen unsheathed his sword and was about to kill, Feng Yenro finally saw his sharpness, the kind of sharpness that could take away one's soul with one sword. One sword. Merely one sword. Feng Yenro had chased after Gao Qianhe for 3 months, leaving her with no way to deal with him, but in the end, he was killed cleanly and cleanly. One sword to the throat, without any power to fight back. What an amazing sword Dao genius! I was a bit too complacent before. I wonder if he is a sword Dao genius from the Thunder region or some other region. Feng Yenro had already regarded Yi Chen as a genius of the same level. It was not that she underestimated him, but rather that she had given him a very high evaluation. Gao Qianhe's last desperate attack was indeed powerful, but in the eyes of sword artists, it was actually more of a flaw. And for a sword artist, if they did not grasp the opportunity to strike a flaw, then they were not qualified to be a sword artist. Therefore, killing Gao Qianhe with one sword strike was something Feng Yenro could also do. However, she had previously thought that Yi Chen was a peak astral reaching expert, which was why she was so surprised. As for which region Yi Chen was a sword Dao genius, Feng Yenro did not think about the nearest South Rudra region. She did not think that South Rudra region, which had not had a life and death king for hundreds of years, could give birth to such a powerful sword genius. South Rudra region had started to decline 1,000 years ago. It could only be the Thunder region or some other region. Shaking off the blood on the destruction sword and putting it back into its scabbard, Yi Chen turned around and said to Feng Yenro, "Sorry, it was too convenient." Actually, with Yi Chen's strength, he could have easily blocked Gao Qianhe's last desperate attack. However, after being trapped in the bewilderment fog forbidden zone for almost half a year, and going through 4 months of despair and near collapse, Yi Chen's evil aura had not dissipated yet. Earlier, he did not ask about the cause of the matter, so he did not do anything to Gao Qianhe. He only stopped him. But now that he was about to kill him, his evil aura suddenly erupted, and he casually killed Gao Qianhe, venting out the 4 months of depression. After killing Gao Qianhe, Yi Chen felt a lot more relaxed. Feng Yenro shook her head. "No, if you did not kill him, he would have killed you. I haven't even thanked you yet. How could I blame you?" Not being able to kill Gao Qianhe herself, Feng Yenro was indeed a bit disappointed. However, now that he was dead, her mood was also a lot more relaxed. Yi Chen chuckled and asked, "Are you from the Misty Snow region?" "Yeah, I am a disciple of the Misty Snow Martial School. Are you from the Thunder region?" Feng Yenro asked back. "No, I am from the South Rudra region." South Rudra region. Feng Yenro was a bit surprised. She had never heard of any noteworthy martial genius in the South Rudra region. Only Sikong Sheng was famous. Of course, her understanding of the South Ridra region was still a couple of years ago. Back then, Sikong Sheng was only a peak-level late clasping Yuan realm martial artist, while she had already reached the astral reaching realm. She believed that after a couple of years, Sikong Sheng would not be that bad. He would definitely reach the astral reaching realm, and would be ranked in the top 20 or even top 10 in the Misty Snow region. What? Is there something wrong? Feng Yenro shook her head. Then, in the last hidden dragon rank, you should have beaten Sikong Sheng. Yes, he was very powerful. I had to spend a lot of effort to beat him. Now that he has gone to another region, he should have improved a lot. Yi Chen had never underestimated anyone. Sikong Sheng, Yan Qihua, Murong Qingqing, Li Daoxian, Tua Baku, and Bing Ling were all his competitors. Being in the lead for a while did not mean being in the lead for a lifetime. The meaning of martial geniuses was that you would never know when they would explode. Once they did, it would be extremely horrifying. Xianhou had also been quiet for a while. But, when she exploded, it shocked the whole continent. While looking down on others, they were also looking down on themselves. Although some martial geniuses were arrogant, it did not mean that they had no achievements. Even among the legendary life and death realm warriors, there were a lot of arrogant people who had such personalities. Therefore, personality was just personality. As long as one worked hard and persevered, then no matter who one was, one would be able to create his or her own glory. Even the evil ones were the same. Feng Yenro did not dwell on this topic. I have to thank you for killing Gao Qianhe this time. I have been chasing him for 3 months. Now I have to go back to the Snowy Palace. Alright, what is your name? She had already told Yi Chen her name. Yi Chen. Yi Chen, I will remember you. See you in the future. Shoo! The cold aura gradually disappeared as Feng Yenro flew into the distance. Soon, she disappeared into the horizon. Taking back his gaze, Yi Chen sighed. The South Rudra region had been weak for a long time. Not many people in the outside world valued the South Rudra region, thinking that it would continue to decline. But everything was different now. As the current number 1 martial genius of the South Rudra region, he would naturally improve. Those martial geniuses who were below him would also set him as their goal and try to catch up. Within 3 to 5 years, the situation of the South Rudra region would change. If I want to change the competitive environment, it is actually very simple. I only need an even more powerful leader. I will take this position for now. For the current Yi Chen, modesty was already meaningless. As the leader of the South Rudra region, he naturally had to have this kind of bearing. Looking back at the fog-shrouded forbidden area, Yi Chen bitterly smiled. He would not enter it again within 3 to 5 years. This place could torture people to the point of insanity. If one was unlucky, it would be normal to be trapped for several years. Fortunately, he had come out. Shoo! Turning into a beam of light, Yi Chen broke through the clouds and flew above, heading toward the South Rudra region. In a couple of cities near the Star Region Lake in the South Rudra region, people were still talking about Yi Chen. A martial genius had been trapped in the bewildering fog-forbidden area for almost half a year. Without any surprises, Yi Chen would not be able to come back until he reached the Sea of Soul's realm. And reaching the Sea of Soul's realm was not something that could be done overnight. Xianhou had only reached the Sea of Soul's realm when she was 25 years old, which had already broken the 1,000-year record of the true spirit continent. Yi Chen was currently 20 years old. Even if his talent was at the same level as Xuanhou's, he would still need another 5 years. Within 5 years, there would be no more Yi Chen in the South Rudra region. Chapter 380. The Black Dragon Empire's lakeside city, the Sky Star City, was less than 10 miles away from the Star Regional Lake. In this city, with a population of more than 10 million, there was a top-notch restaurant called the 9-Star White Jade Restaurant. The 9-Star White Jade Restaurant had 9 floors, and each floor was more luxurious than the previous one. The walls were covered with extremely valuable white jade, which was inlaid with gold. It was a unique restaurant in the entire Black Dragon Empire. On the 7th floor of the restaurant, countless astral-reaching realm warriors were sitting in the lobby, chatting with each other. Everyone, stop guessing. I think, within 5 years, Yi Chen will not be able to walk out of the Forbidden Fog Zone. Perhaps he will be trapped in there until he dies. The speaker was a middle-aged man with a square face and a big nose. His cultivation was not weak, being at the late astral-reaching realm. He was very famous in the Sky Star City. Half a year ago, after Shen Tujue had said that Yi Chen had been trapped in the Forbidden Fog Zone, the news had spread out in the whole South Rudra region at an unbelievable speed. As a result, all the astral-reaching realm warriors had used Yi Chen as the topic of conversation, since this martial genius had left too deep of an impression on everyone. In the Hidden Dragon rank competition, he had won all the battles and made it all the way to the finals. Then, out of everyone's expectation, he had beaten Sikong Xing, the king of the young generation in the South Rudra region. Not only that, it had been more than 2 years since the Hidden Dragon rank competition had ended, and he had beaten all the other warriors again, becoming an extreme astral-reaching realm warrior. He had killed the White Bone Ghost warrior from the 9 Ghost cult in the Blood Demon battlefield, and had also escaped from the 4 extreme astral-reaching realm warriors. Indeed, the chances of him coming out are very small. And even if he does, it won't be a good thing. He killed Taoist Jin Huang, a core elder of the Floating Mountain sect, and Ghost General White Bone. The remnants of the Floating Mountain sect and the 9 evil cult won't let him go. It is said that Shen Tujue's strength is even above that of Heartless sect's Pei Yu Dao. He has already condensed a martial soul embryo, and can be considered a first-rate existence among extreme astral-reaching realm experts. The remnants of the 9 Ghost cult are also not to be underestimated. There are 2 other Ghost Generals on the same level as White Bone Ghost General, especially the number 1, 5 Poison Ghost General. His whole body is filled with poison, and the breath he exhales can poison a village to death. Fighting with him will unknowingly poison you. Even if the poison is not deep, your strength will be greatly reduced, and you will be at the mercy of others. This Yi Chen's ability to stir up trouble can be considered one of a kind. What kind of people did he mess with? The Floating Mountain sect, the remnants of the 9 evil cult. Any one of them can play us in the palm of their hand. Those who were able to sit on the 7th floor of the 9-star White Jade Tower were all astral-reaching realm warriors, but they were only normal beings. The most powerful among them were only late astral-reaching realm warriors, not to mention the top and extreme realms. If an extreme astral-reaching realm warrior were to slap over, a lot of them would be killed. Deng 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 footsteps were heard from the stairs. They were very light, but everyone could hear them, and couldn't help but look over. After 3 breaths, a young man appeared in everyone's sight. He was dressed in blue, with a long sword hanging on his waist. His black hair was tied up in a simple way, and he had a handsome face. His eyes were gentle like jade. He was not a peerless beauty, but he was still a top talent. If it was not Yi Chen, who else could it be? After traveling for hundreds of thousands of miles, the first city that Yi Chen arrived at was the Sky Star City, which was the closest city to the Star Regional Lake, less than 10 miles away. On the way, Yi Chen had already thought about it. He knew that it would be impossible to hide the fact that he had left the Forbidden Zone, because he was not a nameless person. There would definitely be people who knew him. As for why he was able to leave the Forbidden Zone and the consequences of leaving with his astral-reaching realm cultivation base, he had already thought about it. After all, the iron rule of the Forbidden Zone had been broken, which was way too shocking. It would be impossible for it to not cause a commotion. Therefore, he decided to make a strong comeback and then create a fake image to tell the world that he had not gone deep into the Forbidden Zone. and the fake image would be broken one day, but it would not come too soon. When that day came, Yi Chen was confident that he would have enough power to protect himself. Above the 7th floor of the 9-star White Jade Tower, only astral-reaching realm warriors had the right to come up. There were a lot of astral-reaching realm warriors who knew Yi Chen. Therefore, Yi Chen decided to go to the 9-star White Jade Tower first, using them to tell everyone in the South Rudra region that he was back. Oh my God! It is Yi Chen! Indeed, on the 7th floor, there were 2 people who recognized Yi Chen. They had both been to the Hidden Dragon ancient city to watch the competitions, so Yi Chen's image had been imprinted in their minds for a long time. What? Are you sure? Why would I lie to you? He is indeed Yi Chen. I cannot believe it. He has walked out of the Forbidden Zone without any injuries. This is unbelievable. What the hell? The middle-aged man who had said that Yi Chen would not be able to leave the Forbidden Zone in the next 5 years was shocked, as if he had just seen a ghost. Yi Chen smiled lightly as he found a seat near the window and sat down. He had heard all of the whispers from the crowd. Should we say hi to him? I heard that Yi Chen is quite easy to talk to. Yeah, I have never heard of his scandals. Let's go together. The 2 who had recognized Yi Chen stood up and walked towards Yi Chen. Warrior Yi, I have heard a lot about you. The 2 cupped their fists, showing great respect. Yi Chen reached out his hand. Sit. This Yi Chen is really easy to talk to. He even invited us to sit down. What a great honor. The 2 showed joy on their faces as they sat down with even more respect. One of them asked the waiter to prepare the best dishes and wine. Warrior Yi, we have admired you for a long time. Today we can finally sit down with you to eat and drink. Life is so happy. The middle-aged man on the left with a black mole said heartily. Yi Chen smiled. The meaning of life is to do what you like. It is boring to drink alone. I, Yi Chen, will not refuse anyone. Hee great. Seeing the 3 chatting happily, the others on the 7th floor were jealous. At the same time, they regretted that they didn't think of talking to Yi Chen. Otherwise, they would be the ones sitting there. Warrior Yi, I have admired you for a long time. A man nearby couldn't help but stand up and say shamelessly. Yi Chen didn't embarrass him and invited him to sit down and drink with him. Warrior Yi. Warrior Yi. Seeing this, the others stood up one after another, wanting to get close to Yi Chen. Being able to eat and drink with the most talented martial geniuses of the South Rudra region in hundreds or even thousands of years would be a great thing indeed. In the future, if Yi Chen could step into the higher realms, then he would be even more proud. At least, he would be able to tell his descendants, "Son, back in the day, I, your father, had a drink with Yi Chen and chatted with him. You are still far away from that." There were too many people. Yi Chen laughed as he put all the tables on the 7th floor together, creating a huge table that was 10 meters long on each side. Everyone gathered at the table and started to drink. Warrior Yi, that Forbidden Zone is known as the place where astral-reaching realm warriors don't return. How did you get out? Let us see. Yeah. Warrior Yi, the news of you getting out will spread throughout the Black Dragon Empire in less than half a month. Within a month, the whole South Rudra region will know about it. Yi Chen drank a mouthful of wine and said, Actually, I didn't even go deep into the Forbidden Zone. Therefore, I got out 5 months ago and have been healing my wounds. You know, being chased by 4 extreme astral-reaching realm warriors, it would be impossible for me to not be wounded at all. You didn't go deep into the Forbidden Zone. Everyone suddenly realized that Yi Chen had not gone deep into the Forbidden Zone. As for being wounded, it would be normal. It would be weird if he did not get wounded at all. Being chased by 4 extreme astral-reaching realm warriors was not a joke. Yi Chen being able to escape successfully was already enough to prove his power. If it were any other normal extreme astral-reaching realm warrior, there would be a huge chance for him to die. Thinking about it, Yi Chen had been hiding for 5 months to heal his wounds. Powerful warriors were not the same as weak ones. powerful warriors had a strong life force and would not die easily, but it would be extremely hard for them to heal their bodies. Especially the wounds caused by some of the ace attacks, which would affect the mental state. Congratulations on your safe return. Let me propose a toast to you. A toast to young hero Yi as well. The banquet lasted until late at night before it ended. In the guest room of the restaurant, Yi Chun sat on the bed with his legs crossed. The 4 months of searching for the way out of the forbidden zone had a huge impact on Yi Chun. Seriously speaking, it was even more than the challenge from the Dual Sword King and the Iron Sword King statues. Mentality. What was the mentality? It was actually a person's inner world. To put it simply, it was the inner heart. Being strong on the outside was not true strength. Being strong on the inside was the strength that came from the inside out. It was a strength that could not be crushed, a strength that could break through fate. The boring journey of 4 months and 7 days had raised Yi Chen's mentality to a frightening level. On average, he had to use his soul power 180,000 times a day, which would be more than 20 million times in 4 months and 7 days. If it were any other astral reaching expert, they would have long since gone crazy or collapsed. Or they would have directly given up and not stepped into the Sea of Soul Realm, not planning to leave the Forbidden Zone. Even Sea of Soul Realm experts did not have the same perseverance as Yi Chun. Repeating the same thing for 4 months and 7 days, repeating it 180,000 times a day. Just thinking about it would make one shiver in fear. However, this was not the most frightening thing. What was frightening was that Yi Chun didn't know when he would be able to leave the Forbidden Zone. Perhaps it would be a few months or perhaps it would be a few years. Everything was unknown. Who could stand up again and again in the midst of disappointment and loss of confidence, and defeat themselves? Yi Chen's experience in these 4 months and 7 days contained the setbacks of several lifetimes of others. Of course, the harvest of defeating oneself time and time again was bountiful, far beyond one's imagination. With a powerful mental state, Yi Chen's sword will become even more indestructible and unshakable. Every strand of will was exceptionally pure. It would not be an exaggeration to say that within the same realm of sword will, no one would be his opponent. His current sword will was more or less the same as an ordinary Sea of Soul Realm sword artist. In terms of power, even ordinary Sea of Soul Realm sword artists would not be his opponent, and ordinary Sea of Soul Realm martial artists would be thrown into the air by him. They could not be compared at all. Above his Sea of Soul, a 3-finger-long ancient longsword blossomed with specks of silver radiance. These specks of silver radiance were the radiance of will. From Battle King's Sword Dao knowledge, Yi Chun knew that within the Sea of Soul Realm, only Sea of Soul Realm masters will could emit radiance. Below Sea of Soul Realm, powerful Sea of Soul Realm sword artists could occasionally do it. However, Yi Chun had done it at the astral reaching realm. Once the radiance appears, the will is almost indestructible. Yi Chun sucked in a deep breath, his pupils emitting a soul-stirring light. Chapter 381. In the next half a month, Yi Chun had been training in the 9-star White Jade Tower. He had already used more than half of the hundreds of top-rank soul stones he had gotten from the black-robed elder, which had increased his cultivation to the next level. His Zhen Yuan was getting richer and richer. Do not underestimate the small gap between the peak-level late astral reaching realm and the late astral reaching realm. The amount of Zhen Yuan needed to accumulate would be shocking. No matter how talented you were, you would have to train honestly. Of course, it was not that there were no shortcuts, but they were too hard to find. For example, the rare spirit plants and the priceless top pellets could allow a late astral reaching realm warrior to reach the peak level instantly. Or, a Seas of Souls realm warrior could use his or her power to help you. No rush. With my battling power, I am almost invincible among the astral reaching realm warriors. I can take my time with my cultivation. Even if I reach the peak level late astral reaching realm, It would still be a long process for me to reach the seas of Soul's realm. It would take at least 3 to 5 years, and at most 8 to 10 years. It would all be possible. The challenge between the astral reaching realm and the seas of Soul's realm is called the Mortal Transcension Challenge. It is not without reason. The Mortal Transcension Challenge, as the name suggested, would allow the warrior to leave the mortal body and be able to do whatever he wanted. Therefore, the warriors who managed to reach the seas of Soul's realm would be called powerful warriors. The sky was getting brighter, and the oil lamp that was covered by a layer of glass was still shining with a dim light. Opening his eyes, Yi Chen pressed his finger in the air. Pooh! The glass did not shatter, and the light went out. After washing up a bit, Yi Chen opened the door and walked towards the lobby on the 7th floor. There were twice as many astral-reaching realm warriors in the lobby compared to half a month ago. Part of the reason was because Yi Chen was living here, and a lot of astral-reaching realm warriors wanted to make friends with him. Another reason was that the new Hidden Dragon rank competition had just ended, and the people who had gone to the Hidden Dragon Ancient City to watch the competition had all returned. Although this year's Hidden Dragon rank competition was not as good as the last one, there were still a lot of top martial geniuses. The first place was a disciple from the Floating Mountain Martial School, the descendant of the Stone King, Gu Yuyun. The second place was Qian Yun from the Sunset Martial School. As for the martial school that Yi Chen was in, it had a lot of top martial geniuses. There were 3 people who made it into the top 72, and the most talented one among them was Zhang Haoran. I heard that he was a martial genius from the same generation as Yi Chen, but Yi Chen had caught up to him. Besides that, there were also a lot of core disciples from the Sky Cloud Martial School who almost made it into the top 72, which made all the leaders of the other martial schools have their eyes wide open. With a genius leader like Yi Chen in the Sky Cloud Martial School, it would be hard for the disciples to not remember him. Yi Chen Chen School was a top. Yi Star. Martial genius leader, Yi Martial of Yi. Of course it's true. These days we often drink and chat together, and occasionally exchange martial arts experiences. Don't be fooled by his young age, his understanding is much deeper than mine. Many things have been enlightened by his advice. In the past, our strength was equal, but now it might not necessarily be as good as mine. He who doesn't know how to brag. If there's a chance, let's exchange some pointers. Of course. While everyone was talking, Yi Chen arrived at the lobby. Young Hero Yi is here. Young Hero Yi, you're really here. It seems that I've come to the right place. The newly arrived astral-reaching realm warriors all cupped their fists towards Yi Chen. Yi Chen had heard their conversation before, and had some understanding of the situation of the Sky Cloud Martial School's disciples. Zhang Haoran's rise was expected. Back in the day, among the disciples of the same generation, only Zhang Haoran could compete with him. 5 to 6 years had passed, and he should be at the peak level late clasping Yuan realm, not far from the astral reaching realm. As for Su Jing, who was not even 24 years old and did not participate in the competition, Yi Chen had a feeling that she had already reached the astral reaching realm. Su Jing's path was different from most of the other martial artists. She mainly trained qi power, which was the opposite of Zhen Yuan. Zhen Yuan was stored in the dantian through the meridians of the whole body, while qi power was stored in the blood, flesh, and bone marrow. Every part of the human body was a qi power path. There was no limit to it. Training qi power was the super version of body training. When normal people trained their bodies, they would be able to strengthen their bodies, which would allow them to have hundreds or even thousands of pounds of power. However, it would not turn into qi power. The early stage of body training was similar to body training. It would also strengthen the body and increase the power. In the later stages, one would be able to squeeze out physical power from the body, which would be qi power. Qi power did not have as many uses as Zhen Yuan, but in terms of aggressiveness, it was way more powerful than Zhen Yuan. It was truly unbreakable. When fighting against the warriors who train chi power, one should never get too close to them. Otherwise, one would die a horrible death. The defense that one was so proud of would be as fragile as a piece of tofu in front of them. There was another big difference between training chi power and body training, which was that it could not be seen from the outside. For example, Su Jing's chi power was definitely one of the best in the whole South Rudra region. However, she still looked like a young girl with a beautiful body. Her arms were very slim, but these slim arms could easily kill a demonic beast at the same level. Of course, it would still be easy to tell if a warrior who trained chi power met another warrior who trained chi power. For the warriors who trained chi power, because their chi power was too powerful, their essence chi would be like smoke, and their blood chi would be rolling. Therefore, the chi power of the warriors who trained chi power would definitely be able to sense each other. Although Yi Chen's chi power was not as powerful as Su Jing's, he was still a little bit better. Plus, his soul power was the only one at the astral reaching realm, so he was very sensitive to everything. Meeting with Su Jing again, he should be able to tell her current power. While drinking with the crowd, Yi Chen asked about what had happened in the hidden dragon rank that was worth paying attention to. There seems to be one. The Prince of the Black Dragon Empire, who was ranked third in the Hidden Dragon rank competition, had come to watch this year's Hidden Dragon rank competition. The Prince of the Black Dragon Empire. Yi Chen nodded. He knew this man. Xikong Sheng had participated in 3 Hidden Dragon rank competitions, and he was ranked first in the second one. The second one was Yan Qihua, and the third one was the Prince of the Black Dragon Empire. He was already 23 years old back then, and after 6 years, he should be 29 years old now, which was a lot older than the current young generation. No one had expected that after hiding for 6 years, the Prince of the Black Dragon Empire would come out with a peak-level late astral reaching realm cultivation. It had shocked everyone. Yeah, even I was shocked at that time. Yi Chen did not care too much about it and asked, "What did the Prince of the Black Dragon Empire do there?" "Recruiting talent. I heard that he had already recruited a bunch of people, including a couple of top-ranked martial geniuses. This year's champion Gu Yuyun and Qian Yun had both been recruited by him. Zhang Haoran from Yi Warriors Martial School was also one of them. I wonder if he had accepted. Recruiting talents. This prince is really calculating." Yi Chen knew that those who were able to make it into the top 72 of the Hidden Dragon rank were all people with great luck. Recruiting them into the royal family of the Black Dragon Empire would be able to gather a lot of luck for the royal family. Even if it did not work out, when these martial geniuses grew up, they would be able to become the guardians of the Black Dragon Empire. Of course, in the South Rudra region, only the royal families of the top 3 countries would dare to do this, since the 3 royal families were even more powerful than the rank 6 martial institutions. Soon, it was already the afternoon. On the street, a group of 6 people walked slowly. "Prince, we are here." Among the 6 people, 5 of them were elders, all wearing black long robes with golden threads. One of them had a golden flower embroidered on his chest. The elder with the flower said to the tall young man who was half a step in front of him. The young man was more than 190 centimeters tall. He was quite handsome, and there was a black dragon embroidered on his black robe. The eyes of the black dragon were golden, which added a bit of aura to the young man. He said lightly, "As expected, Yi Chen should be in the 9-star White Jade restaurant. I wonder if he will accept my invitation. If he does not know how to appreciate favors, then teach him a lesson." The one who spoke was a muscular elder with a face full of evil. The leading elder in black rubbed his chin. Don't underestimate him. He was able to escape from 4 extreme astral reaching realm warriors, so his power is definitely not normal. Of course, there is no need to be afraid. Yan Beidao, wait for the prince to speak. Don't be reckless in case you ruin the prince's plan. Yan Beidao's power was second only to him. His blade arts were shocking, but unfortunately, he was too evil, and could easily kill people. Don't worry, I know what to do. Arriving at the entrance of the 9-star White Jade restaurant, the waiter who welcomed the guests was shocked when he saw the 6 people's clothes. He immediately recognized them and bowed before leading them inside. Then, the manager of the White Jade restaurant personally welcomed them, his face full of smiles. Is Yi Chun staying in the 9-star White Jade restaurant? The leading elder in black asked. The manager hesitated a bit, then nodded. Young warrior, Yi has been staying in the 9-star White Jade restaurant for half a month. It is on the 7th floor. Alright, you go do what you need to do. We will go up by ourselves. On the 7th floor, Yi Chun and the others were drinking. Seeing the prince and the other 5 walk up, his brows slightly creased. He felt that they had come for him. Although the prince had never seen Yi Chun before, he had seen Yi Chun's portrait. A smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Brother Yi is so free and unfettered. I heard that you made it out of the bewilderment fog forbidden zone. I didn't dare to believe it before, but now I do. Yi Chun said, I was lucky. Why is the prince here? Just now, someone had already told him the prince's identity. The prince waved his hand, signaling the others to make way. He sat in front of Yi Chun and went straight to the point. This time, I have come for no other reason than to hope that Brother Yi can become my personal guard. I can give you the position of personal guard captain. Moreover, I will also help you resolve the grudge between you and the Floating Mountain School. What do you think? After saying these words, the prince's gaze became clear as he looked straight at Yi Chun. Yi Chun's brows twitched. Among the 6, there were 3 extreme astral-reaching experts. One of them was the black-robed old man, another was a robust old man, and the last one was actually the prince of the Black Dragon Empire. However, with his talent and comprehensive ability, becoming an extreme astral-reaching expert at the age of 28 or 29 was not out of the question. It was common knowledge that between 25 and 35 was the peak period of a human's body. This was the period where one's progress was the fastest. Xianhou had entered the Sea of Souls realm at the age of 25, and the Life and Death realm at the age of 35. Therefore, the prince's strength did not surprise Yi Chun too much. He was a famous genius of this generation, and his strength would not be inferior to the prince at the age of 28 or 29. Moreover, with a genius leader like Yi Chun, the pressure on the later geniuses would be even greater. It was very likely that they would reach this realm earlier, or even surpass it, leading the South Rudra region to the peak. Sorry, I can't agree. Yi Chun's expression was indifferent as he drank a mouthful of wine. The prince faintly smiled, his gaze faintly carrying an oppressive feeling as he smiled. Brother Yi, why don't you reconsider? Becoming my personal guard will only bring you benefit. There are no disadvantages. You're wrong. Becoming your personal guard is the biggest disadvantage. Yi Chun did not feel any restraint or pressure as he casually said. Impudent. I've given you some color and you want to open a dye shop? If you don't agree, then ask my blade. Yan Beidao could not help but reprimand him. He was not afraid of the prince's displeasure. In fact, this time, inviting Yi Chun to become the prince's personal guard was only one of his goals. If the latter did not agree, then he would move on to the second goal. Therefore, the prince was overbearing from the start. If Yi Chun agreed, then it would be best. Otherwise, his trip would not be in vain. Chapter 382. The Crown Prince didn't stop Yan Beidao. Admittedly, he had come this time with the intention of inviting Yi Chun to become his personal guard. However, he knew that Yi Chun wasn't a sword artist willing to be under someone else's command. Therefore, he had long since prepared himself for rejection. Moreover, Yan Beidao was the #1 astral-reaching blade artist of the Black Dragon Empire's royal family. His ruthless aura was extremely frightening. With him provoking Yi Chun, he should be able to see something. Of course, if Yi Chun were to lose at his hands, That would be even better. Since he couldn't obtain a genius, he might as well destroy him in advance. Yi Chen glared at him. Who the hell are you? Hearing these words, the astral-reaching experts on the 7th floor opened their mouths wide. As the saying goes, one must look at the owner before beating a dog. Yi Chen's first words almost made them spurt out the wine they had just drunk. As for the Crown Prince, his complexion suddenly turned gloomy. The wine cup in his hand exploded with a bang, and the wine and fragments evaporated into a light blue mist. I'll skin you alive. Yen Beidao's face was flushed with blood, and his breathing accelerated. Everyone could clearly see the blue veins on his thick neck bulging like cyan earthworms. With a roar, ruthless aura erupted, filling the berserk blade aura. Yen Beidao chopped at Yi Chen with a palm blade. The energy of this palm was restrained, and it was extremely fast and berserk. With a wave of his hand, the edge of the palm was like a bold and decisive blade, cleaving the void and heading straight for Yi Chen's face. He was fast, but Yi Chen was even faster. A green lotus blossomed, and Yi Chen's sword finger pointed at the edge of Yen Beidao's palm. Ka-la-la! The hard floorboards under his feet were plowed through. Yen Beidao's feet rubbed against the ground as he flew upward like a meteor. He smashed a huge hole in the wall of the 9-star white jade tower's 7th floor and flew backward for 3 to 4 miles. Along the way, everything he encountered exploded. After 3 to 4 li, Yen Beidao staggered in the air, spurting out a mouthful of blood. On the other hand, Yi Chen's face wasn't red, and he wasn't out of breath. The chair beneath him also didn't shatter. Is this the strength of the genius leader of South Rudra region? How terrifying! With a single finger, he sent the other party flying 3 to 4 miles away without the slightest bit of resistance. Although everyone had heard that Yi Chen had suppressed the White Bone Ghost General, one of the 3 strongest ghost generals of the 9 Ghost Cult, causing him to die a miserable death in the mouth of the blood evil beast, and had exchanged a few moves with Shintoju without falling into a disadvantageous position, and then escaped from the hands of 4 extreme astral-reaching experts with great difficulty, they had never seen it with their own eyes. They thought that it was an exaggeration, and that there was some hidden story behind it. At this moment, no one thought this way anymore. Yi Chen's strength was even more powerful than they had imagined. This Yen Beidao was, after all, an expert under the Crown Prince, yet he couldn't even take one move. The eldest Imperial Prince's expression was exceptionally grave. The others might not know, but how could he not know? Yen Beidao was an extreme astral-reaching expert. Even if he couldn't compare to the head of the 7 blade artists, the white-robed blade artist, he wasn't too far off. Coupled with that crazy evil chi, even those with a higher strength might not necessarily be able to suppress him. His strength is above that of the white-robed bladesman, comparable to Pei Yu Dao. Thinking of this, the eldest Imperial Prince sent a Zhen Yuan transmission to Yen Beidao, who was several li away. Beidao, take out your weapon and go all out. Help me probe his bottom line. I must kill him. Without the eldest Imperial Prince's words, a radiance flickered in Yen Beidao's hand, and a 1.5 meter long blade with an extremely thick back appeared out of thin air. With the blade in hand, Yen Beidao's blade aura rose again and again, distorting and rupturing the void. Sent flying by Yi Chen's finger, Yen Beidao lost all his face. He had used 70% of his strength at most in that palm strike. Wishful thinking, he believed that Yi Chen had used 90% or even 100% of his strength. At this moment, he held a peak mid-grade blade in his hand, and his battle power could be displayed to its peak. His eyes were bloodshot as he pointed at Yi Chen with his left hand and roared, "Despicable villain, come out and fight. Why bother? I can deal with you right here." Yi Chen sneered. His fingers, as if playing a pipa, shot out one sharp Zhen Yuan after another. The Zhen Yuan took form and gave birth to many long swords, piercing through the void. Dang 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 dang. Yen Beidao brandished his blade and slashed out. His extremely fast brandishing speed caused his entire body to be wrapped in blade light. However, Yi Chen's Zhen Yuan longswords were not ordinary Zhen Yuan longswords, but Zhen Yuan longswords that contained a frightening sword intent. Every strike was equivalent to an extreme astral-reaching expert's full power attack. Dozens of attacks simultaneously landed on Yen Beidao's protective blade light, and their destructive power was astonishing. With continuous cracking sounds, Yen Beidao's perlicue bled, and his entire body was sent flying once again. At the same time, several Zhen Yuan longswords instantly brushed past his body, leaving behind scars. What? The eldest imperial prince's pupils shrank, and he couldn't help but stand up. Too powerful! Sitting there casually from 3 to 4 li away, he beat the eldest imperial prince's right-hand man to the point of vomiting blood and retreating. Everyone was astonished. Yi Chen retracted his palm and said to the Black Dragon Empire's eldest imperial prince, what other powerful subordinates do you have? Come at me together. I have nothing better to do. After saying these words, his gaze shot a glance at the black-robed old man standing behind the eldest imperial prince. There was a golden flower tattooed on his chest. Gulp! It was merely a glance, but the black-robed old man felt as if an incomparably sharp and peerless sword was stabbing at him. He couldn't help but swallow his saliva. Eldest imperial prince, this person is more troublesome than I imagined. This old man is not his opponent. His lips slightly moved as he sent a Zhen Yuan transmission to the eldest imperial prince. The eldest imperial prince restrained his astonished expression and replied, I know. He's at least an expert at the level of Heartless Sect's great elder Pei Yu Dao. Pei Yu Dao's reputation in South Rudra region was even higher than Shin Tujue's. After all, before Shin Tujue condensed his martial soul embryo, Pei Yu Dao had always held the position of the #1 astral-reaching expert. Moreover, there was no comparison. Who knew if Shin Tujue could defeat Pei Yu Dao? Pei Yu Dao's level. The black-robed old man sucked in a breath of cold air. Pei Yu Dao himself was a sword artist, and also an extreme astral-reaching expert. In terms of offensive power and sword intent, he couldn't be compared to anyone else. At his level, he was basically invincible among astral-reaching experts in South Rudra region. Ha ha! The eldest imperial prince suddenly laughed heartily. While clapping, he said, Good strength! You've broadened this prince's horizons. This prince has come this time not only to get to know Brother Yi, but also to exchange pointers with Brother Yi. How about this, you and I exchange one move, so as to avoid harming our relationship? What do you think? The eldest imperial prince was quite apprehensive of Yi Chen. He was afraid that if the battle dragged on, he would lose face. If it was only one move, he was confident that he could receive it. After all, he was riding a tiger and couldn't back down. He had no choice but to find a way out of this embarrassing situation. I'll do as you say. How could Yi Chen not see through the eldest imperial prince's thoughts? This place is too narrow. You and I will exchange outside the city. The eldest imperial prince turned around and went down. 10 li north of Sky Star City, Star Regional Lake. Yi Chen and the eldest imperial prince stood 100 meters apart. The lake breeze blew on their clothes, causing them to flutter. In their surroundings, the spectators numbered in the tens of thousands. Almost all the astral-reaching experts of Sky Star City had come. Of course, there were even more clasping yuan and condensing reality martial artists. Yi Chen said indifferently, Make your move. The eldest imperial prince didn't say anything, the palm hidden in his sleeves tightly clenched into a fist. Black smoke curled up, faintly carrying thunder and flames. The black chi became more and more vigorous, eventually wrapping the eldest imperial prince within and soaring into the sky. The air within a radius of several hundred meters instantly distorted, and the scene became indistinct. Kacha! The sky turned dark at an unknown time, and a purple lightning struck down. At the same time, the eldest imperial prince made his move. His figure shot out like lightning, tearing through the void. His right fist, shrouded in black chi, suddenly punched out. Black Dragon Tyrant Fist. A huge black dragon condensed from Zhen Yuan rapidly formed. The dragon's body was 300 meters long, and its head was as big as a house. Its eyes opened, emitting a golden light. It bared its fangs and brandished its claws as it swooped down at Yi Chen. Wherever it went, the ground collapsed and cracked, and the lake water on one side raised huge wave. It was as if the end of the world had arrived. It's the Black Dragon Empire's royal martial art, Black Dragon Tyrant Fist. Someone recognized the eldest imperial prince's fist art. Black Dragon Tyrant Fist is said to be a fist art that is even higher than the top-rank Earth realm. With one punch, the sky and earth will change color, and the flood will flood. That black dragon condensed from Zhen Yuan also has a mental attack. Higher than the top-rank Earth realm fist art? Isn't that a Heaven realm fist art? Right, Heaven realm fist arts are also known as profound sense fist arts. The black dragon covered the sky and enveloped over. Its sharp claws and teeth tore through the air, creating one vacuum crack after another. It was as if it was tearing apart a huge piece of cloth. Its aura was astonishing, shaking the soul. Yet another profound sense martial skill. How could Yi Chen not know about the grade of Black Dragon Tyrant Fist? It was the same as Feng Yenro's Ice Snow Sword domain, both of which were Heaven Realm martial skills, which were also profound sense martial skills. Only Sea of Soul Realm experts could create profound sense martial skills, because they already touched upon the existence of profound sense. The higher the profound sense, the more powerful the martial skill would be. Normally, Sea of Soul Realm experts or masters could create low-rank profound sense martial skills at most. Mid-rank profound sense martial skills were beyond the power of Sea of Soul Realm masters, and only Life and Death Kings could do it. As for the high-rank profound sense martial skills, only titled monarchs could create them. Whether Xianhou had done it or not, it was still unknown. Above the high-rank profound sense martial skills were the peak profound sense martial skills. Those who could create peak profound sense martial skills were already comparable to the ancient era's peak kings. The Crown Prince's Black Dragon Tyrant Fist was at most a superficial level, not even 1/10 of its full power. From this, it could be deduced that it should be a low-rank profound sense martial skill. Black Dragon Tyrant Fist was created by the old ancestor. Once I use this move, even those stronger than me will be temporarily suppressed. I'll let you make a fool of yourself. The Crown Prince was full of confidence. Within this one move, he was not afraid of anyone at the astral reaching realm. This was the big gift he had prepared for Yi Chen. Roar! The black dragon opened its huge mouth, and an incorporeal ripple radiated out. It was a spirit attack. Yi Chen wasn't afraid at all. The space between his brows swelled up like a diamond bead, and a shapeless and immaterial sword intent swiftly shot out, instantly extinguishing the mental attack without the slightest effort. Clang! Unsheathing the destruction sword, Yi Chen stabbed 3 times toward the black dragon. These 3 sword strikes were unimaginably fast. The first sword pierced through the black dragon's head, the second through its neck, and the third through its body. After stabbing 3 times, Yi Chen sheathed his sword and calmly stood there.